In this somewhat belated video, we are going to be going through the second half of our 5-threat breakdown that was supposed to be for 2024, so we've missed it by a week or so. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Well, welcome to this, another MCP video, the first one of 2025. And what better way to start 2025 by doing a video that we should have got done in 2024. Joining me as ever to go through these tier lists is Mr. Quinn Duggan. Quinn, with your longer hair, how the hell, you've got longer hair, I've got messy hair. How the hell are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. It's fine. We're in 2024 plus one, just how you're 39 plus one.
24, yep, 39 plus 1, that's what it is. We're now in 24 plus 1. There we go. It's been a minute, Quinn. So shall we start by just jumping in, taking a look at where we got to, and then we'll sort of run through what the tiers are just to remind everybody. And then we can make any adjustments if we want to. Sure. So, in fact, let's start off and let's go through the tiers themselves because it will make a bit more sense. So, starting off with D tier at the very bottom, these are going to be characters that we think really don't represent the character very well in the game. They're not really viable in or out of affiliation and really need... I would say, Quinn, at this point, it's kind of a complete overhaul in our opinion, really, isn't it? Because it's not just that they need one or two things tweaking. It's like they just don't feel like the character. Jean Grey being a prime example of that. C tier are going to be characters that if you were to change one number here or there, they would bump up a little bit. They may be overshadowed by other characters in the same affiliation or other characters that do the same job, maybe at the same or a different threat level. They could also have a counterpart in the game that is probably going to be at a lower threat level because these are 5 threats. In fact, no, there is one here that does have one that is a higher threat level that are just so much better that you would never take this version of them. But if you did want to take them, they're still going to be, perfectly fine. B tier, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. These are characters that we think are absolutely fine, do a good enough job in, or indeed sometimes out of affiliation to be able to take them. A tier are going to be those exceptional characters, but not to the point where they have something that fundamentally we don't think should be in the game, i.e. broken, and need a really, big change. And then S tier are going to be those characters that we think are just that little bit too good. It could be the character card themselves. It could be a tactics card that they bring in the form of Ghost Rider, and probably do need knocking down a peg or two. So starting out then, bottom to top, we've got Jean Grey in D tier. We've got Ebony Maw. We've got the new version of Danvers. And then we've got Cassandra Nova in C tier. Then we've got Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. We have got Black Swan with the Power Gem. We've got Corvus Glaive with the Reality Gem. Abomination, Juggernaut. Black Bolt, I forgot his name then. Cable. And then Doctor Strange with the Soul Gem. No, Doctor Strange without the Soul Gem. No gem. No gem. Yeah, no gem. Then right now, the only two in A tier that we've got, Quinn, are ASM and Angela, both for the same reason, in that they're a safe turn 1 midline extract grabber without any other fluff around it. And then up in S tier, characters who we think need a little change are going to be Dracula. Dracula really just because of a combination, I would say, Quinn, of his card, Warpath coming back and not being restricted, and his leadership. Kind of those combined are doing a lot of heavy lifting for him, really, aren't they? Which is why he's up there. And then Ghost Rider, mainly around two things. First of all, 3 power for a long move with no other restrictions around it is huge. People really underestimate that about him.
On that size base as well, yeah.
Yeah, on a large base, and then deal with the devil, where he just gets to come back for essentially the cost of what could be a 2-threat character that is healthy. So he comes back healthy as well. Quinn, we've had a month or so, I think, since we've last looked at this list. Any sort of changes you would want to make, or anything that stands out as like I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe this person should be higher, this person should be lower?
Nothing really. I think we've got it pretty spot on in this first pass at the very least.
I think that's fair. I think for me, I don't think I'd change anything either. You know, I saw people were talking about Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. He should be much higher up. He's B tier, right? We're saying he's perfectly fine, but he's also a power-hungry bugger. So, yes, if he had much better ways to generate power, then maybe he'd be higher. He's got really good stuff on his card, but as we see a lot, Quinn, in this game, having loads of really good stuff doesn't necessarily mean that you're able to use all of that stuff every turn, meaning, well, actually, you don't end up being as good as what you think you are. Okay, Quinn, so with all that said and done, let's start out and take a look at our first character, King T'Challa, the 38th version of T'Challa in this game, and something like the 90th leader of Wakanda, it feels like.
I mean, yeah, there's been that many generations of Black Panthers, I think.
Has any affiliation had such an influx of leaders in such a short space of time? Yeah, but they had...
Crimson got 2 leaders in the space of 2 months.
Yeah, but didn't they get 3 leaders in 2 months? Because they got M'Baku.
They've got
M'Baku, Killmonger, King T'Challa.
Yeah, but do we really count Killmonger? Because it's just worse than old Killmonger.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So, King T'Challa falls across the board. 7 stamina on his front. I want to say he's 7 or 8 on the back. Yeah, he's 7 on the back. Obviously, 5 threat, because that's what we're looking at. Size 2, long move on a small base. So doesn't quite get that A tier status automatically granted to him. Vibranium Spear Queen, range 3, strength 6, 0 cost, power equal to damage dealt. If a target character is within 2, you get to reroll 2 dice. If it's not, you get to push the target towards this character's short. If it's size 3 or less. A little bit similar to what Magneto does with his builder. But I think as far as a builder goes, it's pretty good. Range 3 feels really nice on that spear. Panther's Fury, range 2, strength 8, costs 4, and then a throw on a wild. It's got to be size 3. It's got to be a medium throw. It's after the attack. But then after the attack, you also get to advance medium. So as with timing things, you get to choose, right? So you can move medium first of all, and then throw them, or throw them first and then move medium, whichever you wish. Bound is... I always found this to be a bit of a weird one. Cost 3, place this character range 2. Now, I believe, Quinn, they have clarified on the forums that this should be within range 2, so you don't have to go the full length. Yeah. And then the next Vibranium Spear attack this character makes, he gets to add 2 dice to the attack roll, but it can only be used once per turn. But all of a sudden, that's an 8 dice Vibranium Spear with potentially 2 rerolls. Royal Rebuke, after an attack targeting this character is resolved if the attacking character is within 3. Roll 4 dice, take damage equal to crits and wilds. We've seen it before. And then Defender of Wakanda, when another allied character is dealt damage by an enemy effect, this character gains 1 power. So almost identical to Ghost Rider, but slightly better because it's enemy effect, not an enemy attack. So anything you do to them, if it involves damage, T'Challa's going to get a power. Let's round it off then, Quinn, and talk about Strength of Ancestors. I like this because it's different, but once per turn, when an allied character pushes an enemy character, if that character contacts a terrain feature during the push, it suffers 1 damage. And there are a lot of characters in Wakanda who don't mind pushing people around. I think he's pretty good, Quinn. And I think he's the reason why Wakanda have had a big resurgence of late.
There was also the whole Spirit of Wakanda chicanery that went on.
Which has been pushed back down somewhat. But yeah, I've played a few games with him. I've played quite a lot of games against him. I think as a leader, he's solid. Like 14 stamina, 4s across the board. Is pretty darn good. He's not really susceptible to anything. Doesn't have any defensive tech. He's very much a full aggressive character, isn't he? But overall, I think he's pretty good. And I think he's, like I say, I think that him alongside Spirit of Wakanda are definitely two of the reasons why you're seeing Wakanda doing reasonably well at the moment, and you're seeing a lot of representation of them in events and other such things.
I'm just looking at that leadership and I'm just like, could it not have been collisions as well? Could that not have been okay? Just to give it a little something more? Because, like, let's be honest, whilst it is fun and different, it is kind of lacking in a sense of viability, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's so it's reliant on a couple of things, right? First of all, having the terrain there in the first place.
Yeah, and that is a finite resource that can be gotten rid of over the course of the game.
Well, and if you look at what's in the game at the moment, big guys, aka Asgard, plus some others who like yeeting terrain pieces around. Now, the nice thing is that the push itself isn't going to destroy the terrain, nor is it going to nor is it dependent on size. So if there's a size 1 piece of terrain there, you can keep pushing somebody into the same one. I agree. I think the collision thing, but I do think I think it could have just said contacts a terrain feature or enemy character.
Yeah, that would have also been pretty. I mean, enemy character could have even just been character. Like,
yeah, because as long as it's not doing,
guys wouldn't.
As long as it's not doing damage to the person that they push into, then I think I'd have been okay with that.
Yeah, I think it would have given it slightly stronger legs to stand on, just as a leadership in and of itself.
Yeah, I do think it's really weird, isn't it? Because if you could take 4-threat Black Panther's leadership and put it on King T'Challa, then OG Black Panther would never see play again, right? Because he's just... I just think...
He wouldn't see play in Wakanda.
In Wakanda as a leader, yeah. Because I do think that between them, they form the best character. And unfortunately, this leadership... I say, I like that it's different, right? Thumbs up for it being different. But I do agree, it's a little bit lackluster. It can be effective, but then you've also got some characters who just ignore it, right? Because we have to remember it's a separate instance of damage. So Thanos, for example, just ignores it. Anyone who can't be pushed just ignores it. Anyone under Winter Guard, or indeed a mirror match with M'Baku, has the ability to just ignore it because they might not get pushed. Juggernaut, Bill, all these other characters have a way of being able to stop it. So, yeah, I think it's fine. Like you say, other characters as well, I think would have worked perfectly fine on it. I think as a character, I think he's pretty good. I do think he's pretty darn good. He's got tactics cards, but nothing that's exclusive to him. They're ones that we've already been through, so we won't go through those again. But yeah, overall, Quinn, I think he's pretty good. It's nice to see a different version of Black Panther, one that is more on the aggressive side rather than the... Not that OG Black Panther can't be aggressive, but this version is going to dish out a hell of a lot more damage than the original one. With his cards, with his leadership, with him as a character, whereabouts do you think he goes?
He's pretty good. I've got to say, I've not really ever seen him splashed anywhere.
No. I think he is... I'd even take it one step further and say, I don't think you really see him played other than the leader in Wakanda. I don't think... Maybe unless it was a mirror match and you took M'Baku instead, right? And then you just bring T'Challa as your big hitter. But I think in most cases, he's going in as the leader. But yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the other... I'm looking at, Doctor Strange, Cable, and Black Bolt, and sort of going, well, I feel like he's in and around the mix, but I think he's at the lower end, if I'm being brutally honest, of those three. So kind of in between Juggernaut and Black Bolt feels about right, unless you've got any grievances against that, and you think maybe Juggernaut's better or whatever. But
no, I don't think Juggernaut's better by any means. I'm not that hot on the Juggernaut train as is. I think he's fine where he is.
Yeah, cool. And Quinn, our first alphabet of 2025 is
B for Bound. I could have said Black Panther. Count yourself lucky.
This is true. This is very, very true. Ulysses Klaw next, Quinn.
Cuttlefish.
Maybe the worst leadership in the game. Definitely up there.
Are we calling it a leadership and not just a rule that's on his card?
I mean, a leadership implies that, like, it's like something that they do that inspires others around them, right? It's like when you die, I get to move.
It's so bad.
So, I mean, it is, but as you saw, I think it's the last time I played in a TTS league. I think I got through to the finals and maybe won one round and then got no further. But with a Ulysses Klaw Crimson list, and the way that I made it work was all around grunts, right? Because this doesn't say that you can't murder grunts. So what I would do is, usually with a Daredevil or with Shadowlands Daredevil, if I had prior, they would pick something up. They would murder themselves, give it to somebody else, usually Klaw if that was possible. And then Klaw would get a short advance up the board. Because when he does get in range and he does start rolling dice at people, he can do some serious damage. He's got some little tricks. Sonic Shockwave destroying size 2 terrain, much to the disgust of Nightcrawler players out there. I remember getting that little message off you through on Discord, just going like that'll do, pig, that'll do. It did take me back to that Babe moment with him looking down, like, yes, proud of you, pig.
I think that's what I called you when I complimented you as well.
I think it probably was. Yeah, I think it probably was. So 353, 7 stamina on his front. I think he stays at 7 on his back. Yes, he does. Short base, medium move. Sonic Blast is not a bad builder. Suppressive, if you get lucky and have a couple of wilds in the roll, can be quite annoying for your opponent. But it's taking power off my opponent on a wild is probably one of my least favourite abilities. Like, I'd much rather that be a Pierce than a suppressive.
Well, it's very rare that it overly matters, right? Because typically, if you're rolling multiple wilds and an attack roll anyway, you're getting damage through and therefore refunding that power, as it
Yeah.
were. Or like if you're attacking someone and going for the suppressive, but don't want to damage them and therefore give them power. One, your odds of that aren't great. Two, the only times I think you'd really be wanting to do that is like either at the very start of the game, which he's not going to have the range for, or at the very end of the game to like stop someone pulling off a play, which, I think there's better things you can do to try and deny people doing stuff.
Crit wild for the stun just isn't needed. Like
before damage is dealt is nice, but I require the wild. I don't think.
I forgot it was before damage is dealt, and that's why this can have a bit of an impact. Because
if you manage to roll it, then effectively they gain nothing, which is pretty cool. But it's a 6 dice attack, looking for 2 1 in 8 results.
Yeah, it's a low probability, isn't it? Sonic Shockwave is pretty darn good. You know, anytime I see a Beam 5, like, you obviously need the right setup for it, but you get onto something like a Gamma Wave or a Researcher, and the perfect world is you have both. Like, the number of times I did this attack, and I did not care that my own characters were in the way, because the benefit of doing a 7 dice with a Pierce Beam 5 attack was huge. And I do like the fact that it does take away terrain that potentially other characters can be throwing at me. Because he is susceptible to collision damage. Reconstitute, like with 7 health, being able to just remove 2 damage from yourself just gives him that extra little bit of survivability.
I'm glad it's 2 for 2 as well, and not like 3 for 2 like you see on some characters, which is always a bit grim.
Yeah. Is it Groot that has 3 for 2?
Groot has 2 for 3. I think
2 for 3, sorry, yeah.
I think it's Frank that has like 3 for 2 or something.
It might it? Yeah.
It's just not a particularly favourable conversion rate, given that Frank has power generation problems to begin with.
Exactly, yeah. Sound wave barrier is very interesting, and this is one of the abilities that I feel like my opponents were sleeping on. I mean, let's be honest. They were sleeping on his entire card, everybody I played, because nearly every single, I think 8 games I played in that TTS league, and every single one of them was, I have never played against Klaw before. So that was always a thing.
I've got a very funny image in my head of someone being like so destitute after buying a bunch of MCP models that they had to like sell their pillows as sleep on the character cards. Maybe. And they just got Klaw at the top for some reason.
But you spend 3 power, and when an enemy character ends its activation within 3, you just push them away short. From a control perspective, that is really, really good. It just means that somebody's holding a character back. It also just means that all of a sudden they thought they were going to be able to double walk up onto a point, and hey, guess what? You're just going to push them away, which is pretty good. Absorb vibrations, innate. This is going to work on physical and energy attacks or a dodge roll. Actually, yeah, I always forget that. After they're targeted, it gains a power, which is interesting, the timing on that. So it means that it doesn't need to do damage or anything. They just get a power. And he also cannot be pushed or advanced by the effects of energy attacks or enemy superpowers. And I think after I played Winter Guard when Cosmic Ghost Rider was everywhere, because that was my anti-Cosmic Ghost Rider, I think this might have been one of the things that made me go, oh, let's see what Klaw can do with it, because he also can't be pushed or advanced. He's also immune to bleed, incinerate, poison, shock. So again, I lent into playing things like demons downtown. You can also take characters like, is it Hood, who heals but then gives you a bleed, is it, I think? So he gets the benefit but none of the downside. Nothing changes on the other side of his card. He's got one tactics card, which is Supersonic Annihilator, which costs 5, and it's an Area 5 Strength 6 attack.
Yeah.
Which, how much does... I'm just thinking about, like, OG Thor's. We'll get onto him in a little bit. Like, how much does his area attack cost? I think it might...
6 power for 7 dice.
But it's not Area 5.
Oh, no. That is true. But equally, that means he's hurting less of his mates.
This is true. He doesn't care about hurting less
Oh,
of his
he
mates.
really doesn't. I'm so disappointed by his leadership. Because, like, Black Market Entrepreneur could have been something really cool. Like, that could have had something to do with giving out, like, weapon tokens at the start of the game. Or, like, putting, like, caches on enemy characters, and then when they get dazed, they drop them, and you pick them up, and you get a bonus. Or just anything other than what we got. Because, let's be honest, that's absolute dog.
It is. It really is. It's the worst. Because other than his leadership, I actually think Klaw's a pretty decent character.
I think he's reasonable aside from the leadership, yeah.
Having played a lot with him. His card's also quite nice. Like, it's not amazing or anything like that, but being able to do an Area 5 attack is just stupid. Like, it's just stupid. Especially when you can do an Area 5 attack followed by a sonic shockwave, because they both cost 5 power. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like I mentioned, Quinn, I like this character. I've had a lot of fun with him. But his leadership lets him down, I would say. If his leadership was anything else, anything else, it would have been pretty good. I placed Black Panther, so I'm going to let you place Klaw, and then I'll sort of argue or agree or disagree based on where you put him.
I think he's probably just under the tankiest girl in MCP.
Oh, you think he's in C tier?
Yeah, like, he's fine, unimpressive, could do with a bit of help from the leadership. That is making me gravitate towards C. And I think, if I had to pick between him and Cassandra Nova, I'd probably pick Cassandra Nova. Him and Captain Marvel too. Probably not Captain Marvel.
I think that's fair. I think unless you are specifically building something where you are playing Klaw, he's not a pick up and play type character, is he? Because he's going to get destroyed quite easily. And Sequin is for?
C is for Cuttlefish.
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 Fair enough. As played by Andy Serkis in the not Wakanda Forever film, the original Black Panther film, wasn't it?
And Age of Ultron.
Oh, and I always forget he's in Age of Ultron as well.
Yeah, that's where he has the whole cuttlefish bit.
I'll get you some vibranium. That's probably good. Terrible South African accent. By me, not by Andy Serkis. Okay, Quinn. From one 5-threat leader to another, but let's talk about Loki, Prince of Lies. I said how I thought New Black Panther was the reason why a lot of people are playing Wakanda. I think it's fair to say that Loki, Prince of Lies, is one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why people are playing a lot of, not only playing Asgard, but having success with Asgard at the moment. 4/4/5, small base, long move, 7 stamina on his front. I want to say he does drop down to 6. Yes, he does on his reverse. Size 2. Let's start with his leadership, Quinn, because I feel like his leadership is one of the most impactful things, but not the only one. I come bearing gifts. While another allied character is attacking, defending, or dodging, during the modified dice step, it may spend 1 power. If it does, it may re-roll one of its dice, and this character, so Loki, gains a power. So, unlike Klaw, Loki cannot benefit from the first part of his own leadership. So Loki doesn't get to do the dice modification himself. For him, it's going to be a power generation thing. We spoke for a while, Quinn, about how Asgard have been missing dice manipulation. We spoke a while back how we thought Heimdall might have been the fix, and then turned out he really wasn't. This is a pretty good fix, Quinn.
Yeah. I mean, this is less like fixing your leaky roof and more like getting a brand new conservatory put in. Like,
I don't think it's a brand new conservatory. I think you've just moved house and and it's now a mansion that you're living in. Yeah, it's as far as the leadership goes, it's pretty good. The fact, and there's a couple of things here, Quinn. There's no precursors to this. There is no, if you're stood on a point or you're contesting an objective or it's a Tuesday and your opponent's wearing red trousers. Oh no, that's not this game. That's a very different game that would do something like that, isn't it? So there's no prerequisite. It is not limited to once per turn.
It's also effectively power neutral, which is something it has as a massive advantage over things like, OG Panther, the third Iron Man or the third Tony Stark, I guess.
Yeah. You're not losing anything by playing this, are you? Unless Loki's got 10 power then, or he's dazed, then yeah.
Yeah, but even then, effectively, you can gain power from this, whereas in those other ones, you could, at best, net 0 power. If you're doing this reroll on an attack, and it gets another result, and therefore gets another damage through on a builder, you're +1 power. Any other leadership of this type, you're now 0 net.
Neutral, aren't you? Yeah. And Loki has quite a bit he wants to spend power on. Because, first of all, go forth. Spend 2, choose another allied character within 4, place them within 2. Once per turn. Perfectly fine, right? But when you've got characters like Thor, characters like Bill, and all of a sudden their first move of a game isn't to just get halfway to where they want to go and then the next move is moving up. It means that characters like Bill, Thor, basically almost any character in the game, unless they're a small base, small move, are going to be able to get to a midpoint and then do something else whilst they're there, because they're probably going to be in range to get there. So pretty darn good. But then I would say, Quinn, one of the biggest things that Loki has is, oh my, what a pity. Reactive superpower, costs 1. After an attack targeting this character or an allied character within 3, or after an attack made by this character is resolved, it may use this superpower. If the enemy character's roll contained any failures, they suffer a damage. So Loki's sat on no power. Bill gets attacked. Bill spends a power to reroll that he gives to Loki, and then Loki spends that power to do a damage back to the person who just attacked Bill. Power economy under Loki's Asgard is crazily good, isn't it?
It's also just the grossest form of chip damage in the game. Like, let's be honest. It's, no matter what you do, plink, 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 like. And it's the fact it's punishing you for something that's already bad.
Already bad.
Having rolled a failure. It's like, great. Brilliant.
Well, and let's compound that with something else in a moment, but obviously Asgardian, so he gets an extra power. But Quinn, then to round off his card, this isn't mischief, this is mayhem.
I thought when this was a 5-minute tier list video.
This is true. I mean, with this character, it is mayhem. When attacking or defending, this character adds failure results in the enemy character's rolls to its successes. So you roll a fail and 2 hits. I roll 1 block. I count your fail, therefore I have 2 blocks. But you have a fail. So I'm going to spend a power and I'm going to do a damage to you.
Or even worse, the other way around. I'm attacking you. You roll a block and a fail. I roll, let's say, 3 hits. Oh, look, you've taken 3 damage, plus another one.
Plus another one, yeah. It's why his attacks may seem a little lackluster, and they are a little lackluster. Mischief and Magics is fine. Bamboozle, I mean, Bamboozle's pretty damn good, right? Advance the target short, and then Root is good. Kind of harkens back to the OG Loki with making things cost more. Clever Ploy is fine. Like, as long as you deal damage, you get to advance the target character short. Damage dealt by Oh What a Pity doesn't count towards this, by the way. That would be completely separate. But it's because of the fact that you're counting your opponent's failures, and on one of those failures you can double down on them, can't you, and do a completely different instance of damage. Yeah, he's pretty good. Should we talk about his tactics cards, Quinn?
Do we have to?
Well, let's talk about Giant's Blood first of all. When an enemy character ends a movement within 2 of an allied Loki, Loki may spend 2 power. Enemy characters within 2 of Loki gain Slow and Root. Loki drops all his tokens and then places himself within 5.
So stupid.
Movement, by the way, is everything. So it's a throw, it's a push, it's an advance, whether they've done it or you've done it. So, there are many ways you can trigger this yourself and just pay 2 power for a range 5 place. Oh, and you're going to get Slow and Root, so good luck catching him. Yeah, I mean, the only downside to this, Quinn, is he can't be holding something. But if you're taking this card, like, you normally play around that fact, don't you? But yeah, this is just stupidly good. And then one that I really like, Quinn, because he can't use the sibling rivalry, thank God for that. But one that I really like is Trickster's Boon. During an allied non-Asgard character's activation, Loki may spend 4 power. Choose a non-Asgard character and an enemy character. Your character gains 5 power. So already we're spending 4 and generating 5.
Yep.
And then this activation phase, if the chosen allied character dazes or KOs the chosen enemy character, gain 1 VP after the effect is resolved. If it did not, during the cleanup phase, the player controlling the chosen enemy gains 1 VP, and the chosen allied character loses all of its power, and Loki gains 1 power for each one that they lost. So you're never losing power on this card, right? It's effectively effectively 0 cost. It's not, but it is effectively 0 cost. We've just discussed how much Loki generates power anyway, so this is fine. And you can empower any character you want, and as long as they... And it's not even like Usurp, where you've got to choose the highest threat. It's like, I choose Toad. And I'm going to murder Toad.
I will have my Hulk destroy Toad. Thank you kindly. What?
Get a VP. I think I ran through this on another video that a viewer asked for. I also like to combine this with Killmonger and also trigger Usurp the Throne. So you get 3 VPs, which is, yeah. This one you see less, Quinn, I do think. And I think the reason is that a lot of people just want to take the Asgardians. But I think it's a great card.
Like, at certain threat levels, when you can sneak it in, it's grim. I don't know how it ended up being pay 4, get 5. It feels like at minimum it should be the other way around.
I mean, why does it even give somebody power anyway? Like, I just. It's fair to say, Quinn, Loki's pretty good.
Yeah, a bit good, some might say.
A bit good. So, I think it's fair to say he's above B tier. That's a fair statement. Is he egregious enough? And does he have things that we would want to fundamentally change that would constitute him going into S? Or do we think actually him unto himself isn't that bad and you could maybe tweak him a little bit and bring him down? And it's the rest of Asgard combined that are bringing everything up. What's his thoughts?
I think there's a couple things that could do with tweaking. Just because he is very good. He's part of the reason why Asgard is in the state it is. The other one being his big brother. Is Thor older?
Who knows? Because Loki's not even his brother, is he?
Well, I know, but like one of them's older than the other one.
Isn't
right?
he technically his uncle as well? Like, because isn't he Thor? Isn't he Odin's brother in the story? In like some of the original Asgard.
So in the actual like Norse mythology, Loki is Odin's blood brother. He's not actually like a relation.
Yeah.
A bond made in blood that they would always eat at the same tables, drink from the same horn, that kind of thing. Which is why he gets away with so much bullshit.
With a lot of shit.
But yeah, like, just... I think Oh My What a Pity is a bit grim. Like it should be the enemy character has to be within 3, not the allied character.
I think that's fair.
Just because it means you have to at least expose him a little bit, or like he's not as good against like long-ranged attackers, or just something to diminish that sphere of influence he has with the chip damage. I think would go a long way to helping.
I also think you could just have it as a reactive when you or when an allied character is attacked. I think having it on his attack, and then the fact that this isn't mischief, this is mayhem, kind of doubles down on that. But I do agree, range 3 of the enemy feels better.
Or, what if it was a prepayment?
I would be fine leaving it as it is as a prepayment.
I think that would... It would genuinely give you an interesting choice to make, right? Because on lower dice attacks, people are less likely to roll that failure and therefore less likely to, like, proc the trigger. It also would mean that, you know, if Loki was going to die off the back of this attack, he still gets that last laugh, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that would not only make it a bit more reasonable in a gameplay sense, but it also fit thematically. Because also, not everything Loki tries out goes to plan.
It really doesn't, does
it? It's part of the chaos, right?
He's messed up once or twice. Yeah, I prepayment, and I think that's fine. I actually think his tactics cards are fine. His first tactics card, Giant's Blood, I think is perfectly fine.
But honestly, I think Giant's Blood is better on other Loki.
I agree.
Going Root and God of Mischief for her? Yes, please.
Yeah. Trickster's Boon, I don't think we see it as a huge problem because we don't see it as much. But
I'd still like to swap the power levels on it.
Yeah.
Pay 5, give 4. At least there's some degree of cost there, and it's just, you know, gets the ball rolling a little bit later if, you know, Loki needs that 1 extra power, and if he's prepaying, potentially wasting some, you know.
Well, because let's be honest, he's paying 4 for this, and then that character is going to do at least 2 attacks. They're probably spending 2 power to re-roll a dice anyway. So
Yeah.
he's getting 2 power back effectively from it. So yeah, I would like to see that changed. So what we're saying, Quinn, is that we'd like to see Oh My What a Pity become a prepay, which I do agree with. And then swapping the 4 and the 5 round on Trickster's Boon. Do we think those 2 little changes make him egregious? Because I'm going to throw it out there. I don't think they do. I don't think he goes into that S tier category of being super egregious.
I think he does, but he is at the very bottom end of S tier, in my mind. Because, as we just said, there are 2 little things that do need tweaking about him, or that, having those things tweaked would go some way towards diminishing the overall power and dominance of Asgard in the meta. And I think because of that, and just the leadership as a whole being the whole effectively power neutral rerolls thing, is a bit good. And I don't think we need to take that away from him, but I think all of those factors combined alongside with what it does for the rest of Asgard is enough for him to be just in S tier.
What about, as well, because he does generate so much power, go forth increasing in cost, but maybe increasing its range? Because I'm thinking more like turn 1, being able to move some. It would stop that turn 1 play of getting a Thor up the board, or
it would delay it by an activation, most likely. Let's be honest with that leadership.
Yeah, fair.
I think you could maybe make it like 3 power and remove another restriction. I think that'd be interesting for him, just to give him the bit of power economy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. So give him a little bit so he can do it to himself, but also, means that it just costs that little bit more. Yeah. So we're thinking he goes at he's in that egregious level, but his egregiousness is he's part of the problem. He isn't the entire problem.
Yeah.
I think is what we're saying. Okay. And S is for?
S is for, I don't know, 60 minutes.
60 minutes?
Isn't that how long he falls for?
Is it?
Or is it 30 minutes?
I can't remember. You're gonna have to pick
one of the 2. It'll do.
You're gonna have to pick one better. No, I'm not accepting it.
Okay. Silvered words. There you go. That's how he gets people to do what he wants.
Cool. Modok next, Quinn. The original Modok, George Tarleton.
Beep boop.
Beep boop, beep boop. Is he only 3? Is he only 2, 3, 3, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was 2, 3, 4.
No.
Yeah.
He just turns off wilds on everything.
It's stupid. 2, 3, 3, 10 stamina, short move but a big base. Size 4. Psionic Blast, power equal to damage to dealt. Mystic, range 4, strength 6. He was one of the first Mystic attacks in the game, I want to say, Quinn. If not the first Mystic attack in the game.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Didn't OG Red Skull have a Mystic attack? Or did he not?
I don't think he did. Unleash the Cube is energy, isn't it?
Maybe it is. For some reason, I thought vaguely that you got a choice, but I don't think you do.
Because he's got his Builder, which is just a strike. He's got the 1-cost thing that shouldn't be a 1-cost thing.
Energy attack, yeah. And then I think the other one's energy as well.
The Cube is energy as well. Yeah. Sap's power, but it's 1 power for every wild in the attack roll. Doomsday check win, range 4, strength 7, costs 3, but you essentially always get to make 2 of them because you get to target another character within 2 of the original character. Worth noting, they still need to be within range 4 of Modok. That's important because it doesn't state otherwise. And then a bleed on it, which is pretty good. Bow to the will. Spend 2, enemy character, advance them short, once per turn. Imbecile, size 3 terrain throw, range 3, long, costs 2. It's not a bad throw, really, Quinn, for 2 power. Like, it's especially with it being long, it's quite nice. P-Brain, Modok's Genius is infinite. Spend X whilst it's attacking or defending. During the modified dice step, you spend power up to a maximum. Actually, there is no maximum, is there? You can just spend however much power you want and re-roll as many dice as you want.
Yep.
But you can only use it once. And then lastly, Quinn, as you alluded to, psionic force field. When defending against an attack, he changes wilds to blanks. Timing on this is important. Something like a pierce would trigger before this kicks in because of timing. But something like a incinerate or anything else that's needed as part of a trigger thing, like a finisher or something like that, will get wiped off and they don't get to count it. Modok was around a lot, Quinn. Played a lot in the early days. How do you think he has sort of stood up to the test of time and with another Modok being released, but also, I would argue, bigger, badder 5 threats coming out into the game as well?
I don't think Fall from Grace does it justice. I think it's more a plummet from Grace.
One thing we forgot to mention is he has 4 stamina on his injured side.
And loses force field, right?
And loses force field, yeah.
So basically instantly dies. Yeah. Used to be the most busted model in the game. Like in the very early days. To the point where I nearly quit playing this game because of him, because he was just everywhere and I hated him. Like I used to play like OG Cat before he was good and run into this. You can imagine how it went. Yeah. So Bow went to 1 character per turn, which was like a blanket change they did along with like Enchantress and some others, which is very good for the health of the game. But obviously knocked him down a peg.
P-Brain also changed to once per turn as well, I believe.
I think P-Brain might have always been once per turn.
Was it always?
I think people typically had to make a choice on whether they wanted to re-roll. But just Bow going to once per turn and just much better 5 threats and, you know, anything threats existing in the game has definitely like diminished stock severely. Not in a great place. Not in a great deal of affiliations either. And let's be honest, Cabal, the main one, not really an affiliation. Just doesn't feel like one anymore, does it?
Yeah, and he's in Crimson, and he's never finding a spot in Crimson, really, is he?
No, Crimson have much better things to spend threat on.
Yeah, it's definitely
complete lack of mobility as well, with like, you know, way more displacements available in the game, just as the game has grown and time has gone on, means that, you know, if someone can't fight you, they can send you to the other edge of the board and not care about you.
Yeah, and whereas a lot of other characters with very low defenses, they usually have, I mean, yes, it turns off wild, but like less impactful than what it once was. He does die to a stiff breeze. With the characters now that can throw size 4 terrains or size 5 characters being thrown into Modok, like, he just doesn't have a good time, does he? And whereas the 4 threat version has a way of being able to mitigate that by being like, absolutely not, you can take this hit. This version just really doesn't have anything going for him, and defensively, And, at the time, his damage output was amazing. Now, very much less so, I would
Yeah,
say.
10-4 stamina as well is kind of grim.
Yeah,
Like, if we could
yeah.
maybe make that like a 8-6, it'd just feel a little bit better.
I
Like,
think you
obviously,
could. I think you could even make him 10-6. I think you could have him as 10-6
and you
with
can,
with
and then in turn that kind of shifts him more towards a tanky role from the DPS role that he previously held. Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah. He's obviously got a couple of cards. We went through them in the last Modok. They are George Tarleton cards, so it's the same ones, which are nice, but you never. I just really don't think there's a huge place for this version of Modok as he is right now in the game. And it's not necessarily that the changes ploughed him into the ground. It's that he was kind of his time, really, wasn't he? And right
Yeah.
now, there's just much better options. Does he go in D? I don't feel like he's bad enough
No,
to go
he
in
doesn't
D.
go in D. He goes somewhere in C. Um, it's tricky because I really hate Ebony Maw.
But Ebony Maw is probably more relevant in the game.
I want to put him just above Ebony Maw simply because I don't like. I want Ebony Maw to have a complete redesign and actually feel like the character. Modok feels like Modok. He's a big floating head that gets things chucked at him.
That's fair. That's fair. And C Quinn is for.
C is for comparisons that never cease.
I like it. You're getting better. One of, but not the newest 5 threat on our list next, Quinn. Mephisto, Lord of Temptation.
Eh.
3/4/4, medium base, medium move, 7 stamina on his front, size 3, 7 on his back as well. Where do you want to start? Character or cards? Because he's got a lot.
I think you have to do character first because then you understand the Devil's Deal tokens, which then feeds into the cards.
Fair. Well, let's start with his attacks. Hellfire Lash generates 1 power, incinerate on a wild, strength 6, range 3. Infernal Bargain even, range 2, strength 6, 0 cost, but rather than generating or being a builder for power, this is a builder for his Devil's Deal token. So if he does damage with it, he gains a token. If this attack would deal more than 1 damage, it just deals 1 damage. So it can only ever deal 1 damage. Termination Clause. Beam 4, Strength 6, cost 5. For each Devil Deals token this character has, add 1 die to attack rolls for this attack. So if you've got 3, becomes a 9 dice Beam 4. And then after each attack is resolved, the character gains the Incinerate special condition. So attack-wise, Quinn, like nothing in there. I mean, don't get me wrong, like a 9 dice Beam 4 that is an auto incinerate, if you've got power to double up on that, can be pretty darn good. But I think without any Devil's Deal tokens, it's a bit lackluster.
I mean, you've also got to factor in the pretty poor power recon as well.
Yep.
How often are you really getting 2 of those off in a turn? Not often.
Not very often. No. Devil's Due, cost 1, active superpower. Choose an enemy character within 3. Spend 1 Devil's Deal token. If you do, roll 5 dice. For each wild rolled, the target character loses 1 power, and this character gains 1 power. For each hit rolled, the target character suffers 1 damage. A character may only be affected by this superpower once per round. It only does cost 1. It can be used multiple times, but it also costs a more finite resource on Mephisto, which is the Devil's Deal token. And yes, you can get your power back, I'd have liked to have seen something with a crit in here as well, just to give you something else as an option that you can roll that gave you something. Maybe a crit that didn't incinerate or something like that. But yeah, is what it is. How can I be of service? Cost 2. Choose an enemy character within 3. Place this character within 1 of it. Then make an infernal bargaining attack targeting that character. Can only be used once per turn. So this is his kind of shtick, Quinn, really, isn't it? This is the way that he's generating these additional tokens that he gets. Which is fine. It's not an action, so you get to make that attack without it using an action. Meet my associate. When this character is targeted by an attack, use this superpower. Spend 1 Devil's Deal token plus 1 power. Choose another allied character within 3. Place it within 1. Then the chosen character becomes the target of the attack. So it's a reverse bodyguard like we see on Red Skull, like we've seen on Modok, a couple of others.
I mean, bigger range and an attached teleport.
Bigger range
good.
And a teleport, yeah. But again, Devil's tokens are a finite resource, and you'll see what else they do in a moment. So he may have a maximum of 3 Devil's Deals tokens at any time and begins the game with 1. Remember, his only way to generate power is his Hellfire Lash, which is 1. How can I be of... No, Devil's Due, which requires the wilds, but he gains an extra power for each token he has. So you can choose to keep those tokens and generate a lot of power, or spend them by doing things. He's a tricky character, Quinn, because he's got a lot of things on there that I'm like, oh yeah, this looks really good and this is cool. But what I found is, in actual play, he doesn't often get to do all the things that he wants to do.
No. Even with the tactic cards as well, which are very fun and are very cool from a design standpoint, the choices just don't... There's very often typically just a clear-cut choice, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's run through his cards really quickly. Brand new day. When an enemy character would be dazed or KO'd whilst within 3 of Mephisto, he may play this card. The enemy character's controlling player chooses 1 of the following effects. The enemy character is not dazed or KO'd, removes 1 damage, all special conditions, and up to 1 activated token from itself. Additionally, Mephisto gains 2 Devil's Deals token and removes an activated token from any allied character. Or Mephisto removes all damage, all special conditions, and gains 3 power. So your opponent gets to choose. So you're essentially giving them a choice, right? That character isn't dazed. So let's say that they're a 7 health character and they've taken 7 damage in 1 hit. They wouldn't remove all of their damage. They only get to remove 1. Special conditions, tokens, and everything else. But if they choose that, Mephisto gets 2 Devil's tokens. Or they get to choose Mephisto removing all damage, special conditions, and gaining 3 power. Like you say, it's fun, but it's kind of a bit meh, if I'm being honest, Quinn. I don't know. Yeah. Your thoughts on that one?
It's typically a reaction to most things involving Mephisto, whether it be comic storylines or MCP cards.
Embrace the Inferno. During the power phase, he may spend 4 power. All of the characters within 3 of Mephisto gain the Incinerate special condition. And then this round, when an allied character with the Incinerate special condition is attacking, it may reroll all of its attack dice. If it does, and the character deals damage, it removes the Incinerate special condition after the attack is resolved. So you could... there's multiple ways you can use this card. It's like, I just want to give everyone Incinerate, and I'm going to take characters that are immune to it. Therefore, I'm not going to get it. Or I think the example they used, Quinn, was like was Corvus Glaive and Proxima, and you can back-to-back activate them.
Right.
But yeah, again, not a massive fan of this card. And then rounding it out for his like traditional tactics cards is Up the Ante. When another allied character would deal damage to an enemy character with an attack, Mephisto may play this card. The enemy character's controlling player chooses one of the following effects. The attack doesn't deal damage, and instead, the character loses that much power. For the remainder of the game, Mephisto may have up to 5 devil tokens instead of the normal 3. Then he gains 2 devil tokens. Or, after the attack is resolved, Mephisto may remove and activate a token from himself. If he does not, so that would be because he doesn't have an activated token, this just goes back into your tactics cards list and you can play it again. I think we both agree, Quinn, this is the better of all his cards. And it's probably the only one that I would be taking with him.
Yeah, improving the number of tokens from 3 to 5 and gaining 2 in the process is pretty damn good.
Yeah. All of a sudden, power generation goes through the roof. That beam attack he's got becomes an 11 dice beam if you've got 5, which is getting into the realms of that's quite scary. But again, your opponent always has control. And we've spoken a lot in the past, haven't we, about like good tactics cards are generally spend X or do X and gain Y. And this puts all of the onus on your opponent to be able to make that decision. Like, I feel like it's rare that I wouldn't just go, yeah, Mephisto can go again. Rather than going, yeah, Mephisto can almost double this unique power, the resource that he has, and he's going to get 2 of them.
I mean, and let's be honest, if you do choose the one that like gives him the extra tokens, like you've gone from Mephisto being an at best meh character to actually being viable. Yeah. Why would you ever do that for your opponent?
Yeah, fair. And then lastly, Quinn, we have got his leadership card, which is Devil's Reckoning. When this card is included in your squad, if your squad is unaffiliated and includes Mephisto, he may play this card. Your squad is now using the Legion of the Lost affiliation, regardless of other affiliated characters. It's another one of those.
Yay.
Which I think, Quinn, by virtue of having a leadership where you can take anybody you want, irrespective of how good that leadership is, it already bumps it up because of it just being open, right? And anybody being able to take it.
I think the tax of having to bring Mephisto and a tactic card, it's no Thrall to Dracula, is it?
It's really not, no. So what is the leadership then? During the cleanup phase, your opponent chooses one non-dazed character they control without the Incinerate special condition or immunity to Incinerate. The chosen character gains 1 power and the Incinerate special condition. Additionally, during the cleanup phase, choose 2 characters you control. The chosen characters gain a power. So this is a weird leadership that doesn't kick in until essentially what would be things that are impacting turn 2, because it happens during the cleanup phase. 2 characters get a power. One of your opponent's characters get a power, but they also get Incinerate. It's not a great leadership, Quid, by any stretch of the imagination, at least in my opinion.
No. Once again, I see what they were going for. They just... And this is a common thing I find with AMG, is I think a lot of the time they just over-nerf a character in testing. Like,
I think it happens a lot.
like they'll have this idea of, oh, this is a really cool character. We really want to do them justice, and they start at a really high power level, and then they bring them down, and then they bring them down, and then they bring them down, and it's like probably should have stopped at least one rung higher on that ladder just to, it. I don't want to say that I would prefer if they released something and have it be like monstrously overpowered, but it does seem that things that are monstrously overpowered and cause a big ripple in, the game itself tend to be addressed more quickly than things that are really, really subpar and just get left by the wayside.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. They tend to rectify stupidly good characters much more quickly than they rectify characters that are bad.
I mean, simply because, like, a massively overpowered character warps the game around them.
Yeah. Whereas an underpowered one just gets falls by the wayside. So a couple of things on Mephisto, Quinn. First of all, unlike some of the other bad characters, he feels like Mephisto. Like I think they've captured the essence of this, like, everything's a deal, everything's a bargain with him. There's an upside and a downside. He gives you a choice, but ultimately neither of the choices are really good. But the choice is still yours to make. So I think from that sense, they've encapsulated Mephisto quite well.
Yeah.
But I think execution on his card and execution on all of his tactics cards bar one are pretty poor. And I include his leadership card in there as well.
The effects could have been a bit more broad. So, like, just have the effects be more broad, and then that way the element of choice still has a degree of uncertainty with it. Because at the moment, your opponent knows exactly what is going to happen, given what choice they make. If it was something more broad, like, if you pick this option, the Mephisto player can, I don't know, place any of their characters range 4 or something ridiculous like that. So, something that just has so many, like, vectors of attack and, like, different strategies and thoughts that could go into it.
Yeah.
It just make it a bit more of a choice.
Well, and what you find is the more complex the choices are, actually, the better the overall character ends up being, because you can then start working out things around it and being like, right, well, actually, if I take this character with this person as well, and if I get to then move them, and Rocket does a thing where if you end a movement there, I then get to roll some dice and do this. Whereas it feels like you say, it feels like all of the cards have one very clear option, and it almost removes the fact that it's a choice. I mean, maybe an exception would be somebody has somehow managed to do a, one-shotter Hulk and do 20 damage in one attack, and then you go, okay, have your 2 tokens, because that's better than me losing a Hulk.
Telltale game, like the Walking Dead, the Game of Thrones one that never got finished, like the Batman one that, like, it feels a bit like the later ones of those they did, where they gave up actually trying to make interesting choices and just made it like, it turns out both of these choices lead to the same outcome. Ooh, it's like, yeah, great. We're not actually playing a game here, am I? Not making choices. Like,
so I would argue a better example of something very Mephisto-esque is a character we've just looked at, which is George Tarleton, with his where you have 2 piles of things and then you pick one of them, but it does different things. Like, that feels a better implementation of what they were trying to do than what we actually got. I also would have just liked to have seen maybe something around Incinerate and it benefiting your, if a character is incinerated, you can I don't know, not re-roll a dice. That's get that out of your head, Rich. But just something else.
I mean, what if you just had like a passive thing called like Hellfire, where like whilst he's on the board, any opponent that has like the incinerate condition also gets like -1 attack dice or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like just to give that fire like a bit more of a brimstone pizzazz, as it were.
What about, and you go the whole hog, get rid of his tactics card that's the incinerate all thing, but any of your characters with incinerate also gain an attack dice. So they lose a defense dice, but they gain an attack dice. Like something like that where you go, yeah, do you know what, Wolverine, you're on fire. You've only got one mystic defense, but rip and tear, and you're gonna cause some problems. Yeah, great idea. Captured the essence. Poor execution in terms of a viable character in the game. At least is kind of where I'm at with him at the moment, Quinn. I don't know if you're in agreement, and it sounds like you very much are. I don't think he's D tier by any stretch of the imagination.
No, there's definitely something there, right?
There's an essence of a good character in there, but it just needs the implementation of. I love the deal tokens, right? I love the idea of those. I think they're really good. I would like him to be able to gain them a little bit easier. That infernal bargain is not an easy way of being able to get them. But yeah, I think I'm looking, in my head, I'm like, he's either side of Klaw. It's kind of where I'm at the moment.
I think he's back end of Modok.
Yeah?
Let's be honest, Modok's going to do more in the game than he is. Like,
yeah,
he's just a bit of a wet fish, isn't he? He doesn't do anything.
Fair. Absolutely fair. Okay, quick. And C is for?
C is for comics that should never have been made. One More Day.
You really don't like One More Day, do you?
It's awful. Completely out of character for Peter Parker. I'll sacrifice my entire life for one person who was always going to die.
Mr. Mackenzie next, Quinn.
No.
Oh no, it's not Mr. Mackenzie next. I do apologise. It's no, it is Mr. Mackenzie next.
Yeah,
it's just
you
that
got
my
her
list.
way.
My list has just got in the wrong order.
She should be just after Shadow King.
Yeah. Let's move her up so we don't make the same mistake. Namor the Submariner, Quinn. Throw it out there straight away. Medium base, long move. He is already at minimum going in A tier. Okay? Let's get that straight off the bat. 4-4-3 defensively. 7 stamina on his front. 7 stamina on his back. So 14 stamina in total. Pretty nice. Trident. Range 2, strength 6. Power equal to damage dealt. And a guaranteed short advance off the back of it. Which is not too shabby. Armies of the Deep, Quinn. Cost 3. Strength 7. And you get to pick kind of which spender you want it to be. So Swarm of Crabs. Before damage is dealt, the target character drops all assets tokens it's holding. That's the one that's used the most. Octopus Grasp. Before damage is dealt, other enemy characters within 2 of the target character suffer 1 damage and are pushed away from the target character short. And then Wave of Turtles. After this attack is resolved, this character may immediately interact with any number of objective tokens without spending power. If it does, after all effects are resolved, this character may advance short. The fact it's a spender that lets you choose 3 things that are quite situational.
Yeah.
But usually there's always something you want
There's
to do with
always
them.
one that you want, and it's
Yeah.
typically the drop, right?
It's typically the drop, or I mean, to be fair, I've used all of them. I've played a lot of Namor. I've used all of them. They all have their place. Wave is probably the least one I've used. But the fact it's just a guaranteed 1 damage onto everybody else and a push.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you're sat there on 1 health. Cool story,
Go away.
Imperious Rex, he's got a charge. It's a
for
trident
Asgard.
attack. It's for Asgard, where he gets to do a stagger if he does at least 1 damage. It does cost 3, so he doesn't have access to it turn 1, unless you take a time gem with him.
Or you take a Wong with him.
Or you take
Which
a
is a far more likely situation, I think.
It's a far better use of power of threat. Atlantean Might, so he gets an extra power during the power phase. Damage caused by this character's attacks and effects cannot be reduced or prevented by superpowers or team tactics cards.
I found who else a Bloodstone mugged.
Yeah. Pretty good, Quinn. All of those extra 1 damages that Thanos stops, or Bill stops, or whoever else stops, or...
I mean, circumventing an Odin's Blessing is pretty good.
Odin's Blessing is pretty darn good. Circumventing whatever Charles Xavier's version of it is.
Xavier's Dream.
Yeah, it's pretty good, Quinn. Oh, and by the way, he's a charismatic leader, so he's got the Zemo bubble as well.
Nothing I've ever seen Namor in is ever suggested he's charismatic, but sure.
Also, Quinn,
hello, Sue Storm. Hello. Would you go on a date with me? I'm from the ocean.
It also stacks with Zemo's reroll as well, which is...
If anything, I think Zemo should have charismatic leader over this guy.
Exactly.
I've seen those dance moves.
He's got fly, and then as we already mentioned, he is a gem bearer of time. Don't take it, it's a trap. Before we move on to his tactics card, Quinn, we've already spoke about the one thing, which is midline extract play.
Yep.
He also makes people drop all their stuff.
Well, he makes them drop all their assets. So there are certain extracts that he just doesn't work on.
That is true. That is true. He's got a couple of tactics cards. Invaders, which is his leadership. So he can be the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. Feels like he's become the default leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. with this card.
I wouldn't say default. I still think there's a strong argument for Nick. Proper Nick, not White Man Fury.
Of course. I've seen him played a lot, though.
Yeah, I think that was probably just recency bias. I think if you looked at it now, it's probably died down a fair bit. But
That's fair. And then he's also got Prince's Protection, which is a one-time use Heroes for Hire-esque type card. Enemy characters within 3, targets an allied character with an attack, spend 2, place Namor within 1 of the attacking character. He becomes the target, regardless of range, line of sight. I mean, if you place him within 1, you're probably going to have range and you're probably going to have line of sight, but hey-ho. After the attack is resolved, if Namor is not dazed or KO'd, he may push all enemy characters within 2 away short, which is quite nice. I feel like this card is staple to him, Quinn. I don't think I've ever taken him and not had this card in my roster.
I mean, in your roster, yes. I think in your squad, it very much depends on where you're playing him and what you're playing him with, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously with Thanos and Dracula is where I play him. It's pretty good, Quinn.
He's top of 8 here. I don't think he's egregious in any way.
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
A bit grim to fight, sure, but there's nothing particularly unfair about him.
But he's also 4/4/3, right? So he's also susceptible to...
With the reroll built in, but yes.
With a reroll built in, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Trident can be annoying, but he doesn't, he's got to have something else to turn that on round one. That's perfectly fine. Susceptible to throws. Yes, he's got 4, but, his rerolls don't apply to that. So, yeah, I think he is, in most circumstances, your first choice for a midline extract play, isn't it? If you're gonna,
If you don't have one of the other two affiliated, then yeah.
yeah, I think so. And Aquin is for
Atlantean Autarch.
Oh, is that like a Russian oligarch? Is that the
An
equivalent?
autarch is an absolute ruler, autocrat, or tyrant.
So above an oligarch is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Quinn. On to our next character, and it's going to be a brand new character that we've actually never covered on the channel before, which is Richard Rider, aka Nova.
Is he one of your big fans?
I think he's in my rider. Yes.
No, it sounds like a playground insult. Oh, you're a Richard Rider, you are.
So, falls across the board. 7 stamina on his front, 7 stamina on his back. So that nice mix of falls across the board and 14 stamina in total, which is nice. Small base, but he does have a long move, so he is getting around a little bit. Size 2, as you'd expect, because he's like normal Terran size, I would say. He's not human, is he? But I don't know. What's the planet that he's from?
Xandar.
Xandarian, isn't it? Yeah, there we go.
But he's not Xandarian, he's human, right? It's like Green Lantern, isn't it?
Is he a Green Lantern one where he was
from
human?
like Oa or whatever? Is that the name of Green Lantern land?
Could be.
Oa?
Yeah.
Guardians of Oa, I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, because the Nova Corps are usually Xandarian, aren't they? Because we've seen they're all on the planet.
Well, I think they are basically like Marvel Green Lanterns because I think they're from all over the place.
Oh, were they really?
Because even in like the Guardians films, like the first one where they're like arrested by the Nova Corps, like they're not all the same species or anything. They're all different types.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, maybe Richard Rider is at least from Earth. So let's go run through his attacks, Quinn. Nova Burst, range 2, strength 5. It's going to be a flat 1 gainer. But on a wild, it's got a throw attached to it. So size 4 or less, throw it away short.
Low dice for a 5 threat, but good kicker.
Quite a nice kicker, right? Because that's 90-something% of the opponents that are on there. So yeah, quite nice. Gravimetric cannon. That Nova Burst is energy. This is also going to be energy. Range 4, strength 6, 0 cost. Again, it's going to be another flat builder. This one is going to have a push. If it deals damage, after this attack is resolved, this character pushes the target character away short. And there's no size restriction to that either, Quinn. And then on a wild and a shield or a block, Judgment. After the second resolve, the target character gains the Judgment special condition. Run us through, Quinn, what Judgment does again, just because it's one of the lesser known ones, isn't it?
Judgment is you do not gain power from damage taken by enemy effects, I believe. And I think it is enemy effects, so it includes throws.
It is enemy effects, like yeah. This Judgment is... There's not many characters in the game who can do Judgment. Ronan is one of them. Wanda is another one. I don't know if there's many others.
There's one other, but I'm struggling to think of them.
Shall we have a quick look?
Yeah, have a gander. I have a feeling there's one more.
Tags. Judgment. No, that's it.
No.
That is it. So, yeah, Judgment is an interesting one because all of a sudden, what normally happens, Quinn, in a game, isn't it, is a character gets taken down, so they're dazed, and they come back, and usually, not always, but usually, if your opponent's dazed one of your characters before you've got to activate them or something like that, they come back, they have priority, they've got all the power in the world, and they get to have a big comeback turn where they've got all the power to be able to spend and do all the things that they want. And that stops that. It also stops things like Deal with the Devil. It also stops a lot of reactive stuff. So it's definitely not a very heavily seen special condition, but it can have a huge impact on the power economy of a character.
There's a reason it's rare, right?
Yeah.
It's because it's real good. I think
It's
it
really
might
good.
be my favourite condition in the game, but that's also because it's like Ronan's thing, and I like pushing him around the board and going, "You stand accused."
You stand accused. So yeah, really, really good condition. Lightspeed Lance Quinn, Beam 5, Strength 7, Cost 5. After all attacks generated by this attack are resolved. Have we ever seen that wording before? After all attacks generated by this attack. It's an interesting
I don't think we've seen the word generate. That's interesting.
Because Logan has the same thing, but it doesn't use that wording. So
no,
just an interesting one. Place his character within one of the last character targeted by this attack. Right. So if you're hitting 4 people, you place yourself within one of the fourth attack that you make. Remembering that you can always choose the order.
Logan does say generated.
Does it? Oh, okay. Yeah. There we go. On a wild, you get to do a push, basically. It's not a bad beam attack, Quinn. Beam 5 is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And the push on there as well can have a huge impact.
Yeah, if you're playing on like an E or a C and suddenly it's, 3 or 4 people aren't on points anymore. Uh-oh.
Yeah. We've got Faster Than Light, cost 2. It's going to be an action. This character may make an attack action. After the attack is resolved, place his character within 2 of itself. This superpower can only be used once per turn. It's fine. Like, it's no charge. There's also a reason he doesn't have hit and run, because it's a long move. But yeah, I think it's fine. I do like it. You could make an attack into Thor, throw Thor away, and then make sure you're outside of range for him to be able to clap you back and things like that. So it's quite nice, right?
It's a cheap little way to just get yourself back on a point you might have been ousted from earlier.
Yeah, that's fair. Xandarian Worldmind. This is going to be an X. When this character or an allied character within 3 makes a defense or dodge roll, during the modified dice step, this character may spend up to 3 power. Basically, for every power you spend, you get to reroll one of your defense or dodge dice. So it doesn't work on attacks, but it does work on dodge and defense. I think this is fine. Gives a bit more survivability to characters. The fact these X ones are always nice because you only ever have to spend what you want to spend, and you always have all information in front of you, don't you, before you choose to spend it. Nova Force is going to be innate. After this character makes a move action during its activation, after the effect is resolved, it gains 2 power and may remove all special conditions from itself. Add 3 dice to the next attack roll made as part of a Nova Burst or Lightspeed Lance.
Did you miss the gain 2 power there?
I thought I said gains 2 power. Yeah, gains 2 power.
Maybe you didn't say it in the order it's written. That might have been it.
Yeah, so basically, he makes a move action during his activation. He gains 2 power, removes all special conditions, and then adds 3 dice to his next Nova Burst or Lightspeed Lance. This character can only be affected by the superpower once per turn.
I mean, it is important to note that you do conditions before power, though, because if you get rid of a stun, still get 2.
Oh, wait, no. No.
Don't. Sorry, I've read it wrong. That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Can you read good?
Do you have to resolve? Because I know in Shatterpoint,
In Shatterpoint, you do, because it's stupid, and AMG are Americans and therefore don't understand the English language and how it's written.
Is there a
precedent for it in MCP? I'm gonna.
I
The
don't think
cynic
there
in me
is.
says yes, because why would I have faith in them to write it well in one thing and poorly in the other?
Fair. No, but I always think it came as a surprise to us in Shatterpoint because we used MCP as like
Probably.
So maybe you can. So one thing that this won't affect is
Slow.
stagger.
And stagger. Slow.
Slow and stagger, yeah. Because it's after the effect is resolved. So yeah, you can remove the slow, but he's still only going to be able to make a short move when he does that. But yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, that Nova Burst becoming 8 dice, that gravimetric cannon becoming 9 dice. Yeah, it bumps him up a bit, Quinn, doesn't it, in terms of damage output?
I mean, 9 dice gravimetric is a bit overkill, isn't it?
On the back of a long move.
It's a bit Novakill, if you will.
Well, the other thing as well, Quinn, is turn 1, you move, you get to add, you gain 2 power, so you're on 3, and then you get to add 3 dice to your attack. A long move in a range 4 attack, you're probably getting to almost anybody you want to on the board, right?
I'd also add into that faster than light on top of it.
I was just going to say.
Line.
Yep. So you move, you pay for faster than light, you do a gravimetric cannon that is a 9 dice with a push that's going to guarantee one of those powers back. The push is guaranteed. Okay, the push isn't guaranteed, but you're rolling 9 dice. Like, if you don't get the push off, you're going to feel a little bit aggrieved, aren't you? And the potential for a judgment. Turn 1. It's pretty good, Quinn.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn good.
Let's be honest, you're hitting someone with 9 dice. I don't think the judgment's going to matter much afterwards.
It's not. No. It's really not. And then flight, as you'd expect, an immunity to incinerate, which is nice because it means he's always going to keep those, for the most part, falls across the board. Does he bring any cards? He does bring a card.
Yeah.
Call for backup.
Oh yeah,
during
this
his
is the one that's
activation.
like really good, right?
Yeah. During his activation, Nova may spend... So it's unaffiliated, Quinn. Nova spends 3 power to play this card. Choose one of the following. Move along, citizen. Choose a secure objective token within 2 of this character. Push each enemy character contesting that objective short. Like... Okay.
All of you, get off my point.
But again, Quinn, this is 3 power. This is something he can do turn 1. And then stop in the name of the law. Each enemy character that is holding an extract objective token gains the slow special condition.
That was grim.
So you only get to choose 1, right? So you can only choose 1 of them. But they're both going to be good. Like...
I mean, turning around to a web warrior team that's just grabbed a bunch of extracts going, how about you all stay here for a while?
Well, playing him in a web warriors team.
And then doing an all-web build, yeah.
Now, I'm going to throw it out there, Quinn. I haven't had a chance to play MCP over the holidays. I've either been away, doing Christmas stuff, or ill. So... haven't had a chance to play him yet. We know he is going to be a Guardian. Yeah. We don't know if he's anywhere else yet, but he's going to be a Guardian.
I'd be surprised by anywhere else, but given the requirements to get a Web Warrior membership card, being you've seen a spider before.
Yeah, maybe. maybe. I think he is very good.
I really like him. Really like him.
I think he's good without his tactics card. I think you add that into the mix, and I think I found a 5-threat character that may even displace Crutch Rider for me in Guardians of the Galaxy. Because he does a lot, and he does it well.
I think as punishment for all your years of abusing that stupid character...
I'm not allowed to play Nova.
when they eventually nerf him and get rid of Deal with the Devil or alter it in some way, you are forced to play him for at least, 3 events. You have to play him every game.
Nope.
That is your penance, as handed down from on high.
So yeah, I like this a lot, Quinn. Giving him, he's going to get what are the tokens called? The leadership tokens.
Wow, he's such a washed Guardians player. He doesn't even remember what Winging It tokens are called.
Winging It tokens, there we go. You're going to give him a Winging It token every turn.
Yeah,
of course you are. He's number one for it. He brings something. He brings a lot of mobility to Guardians, which, other than Gamora and Nebula to some extent, but she's not a person who can score VPs, so it's a little bit different. But brings a huge amount of mobility and a huge amount of displacement to Guardians, which they've never really had before. I'm really excited to play Guardians again with this character being out, and I think he's going to be real good, Quinn, and I think he's a character you're going to see splashed a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I think people will come up with interesting stuff for this character.
Yeah. So my placement of him is going to be, on the basis that I haven't had a chance to play him yet, but I just look at his card and I see his potential. I think he goes into A tier. I think he's at the bottom end, because I still think midline extract grab is huge. But I think he goes into A tier for me.
I'm willing to put him higher in A tier than you.
Ooh. Does he cut a Namor and Spider sandwich?
I think he's better than all 3 of them.
Ooh.
I much prefer him. I know midline extracts are a big thing, but this boy packs a real punch.
And that tactics card is crazy.
Tactics card is super good. He's pretty durable. He's got the reroll defensively, which are nice. Do
you know what? If you'd have asked me 6 months ago, we're getting Nova, what kind of character do you think he's going to be? It isn't this.
Really?
I didn't think he was going to be a 5-threat. Did not think he was going to be a 5-threat.
I could have seen 5 or 4 for him.
Yeah, something like a 4. But I don't mind it.
I think he was always going to be stupid fast. That's his main thing.
Yeah, fast I get, but usually you don't. So he's pretty durable, right? 4s across the board, 14 stamina, his own built-in rerolls that he can use on himself, and immune to incinerate, so you can't lower that defense down. He's stupidly fast, and he can dish out huge amounts of damage. You don't get characters that usually get to do everything, and he kind of gets to do everything. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with him being placed there. Mine was a bit of a provisional at the bottom because we haven't seen him in action yet, but I'm more than happy to have him in there. More than happy. Looks like I'm going to be dusting off my my Peter Quill. He could make a comeback.
Is that what you call it?
Yes. And Aquin is 4.
alien? Question mark.
I like it. I like it a lot. Red Skull, Master of Hydra, aka Johann Schmidt, the second leader for. I don't know if he was the first or second leader for Hydra, but the second leader we've gone through.
Time. Like they were the same release window.
Fair.
But let's be honest, Struck is the real leader.
422, but don't let those last two numbers discourage you in any way, shape, or form. 7 stamina on his front. Does he drop down to 6? He does drop down to 6 on his back. Size 2, medium move, medium base. Blitz Strike Quinn is going to be his primary builder, but it is a flat gainer. So range 3, strength 6. On a wild hit, he gets to advance. And on a wild block, he gets to push. Size 3, before damage, and it's a push away. Kneel before me. Before choosing a target, this character, you get to choose basically whether it's energy or mystic. Cost 5, range 2, but it is strength 9. And it is a wild for a throw, size 4 or less. But it is a medium away, which is quite nice. Empowered gauntlets. Spend 2 power, get to count blanks when you make a blitz strike. It's pretty nice.
This is bread and butter.
Yeah, all-consuming obsession, costs 0, but this character suffers 1 damage, gains 2 power, can only be used once per turn. This kind of harkens back to the other power generation that some of the other Red Skulls have as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then his Leviathan armor. During the power phase, this character chooses a shielding type. The chosen benefit lasts until the start of the next power phase. So he's got 2 choices. Disruption field, where he's going to get 3 extra dice against energy, and he cannot be pushed or advanced by the effects of mystic attacks or enemy superpowers.
Doesn't make any sense.
I know.
Oh, I'm in energy mode. That makes me better against mystic.
I know. It should be energy. And then null field. This character rolls 3 additional dice when defending against mystic attacks and does not suffer collision damage. There is no right or wrong answer. Like, it's very much depending on who you're up against. As Guardians, you're probably going to be in null field because you don't want to take collision damage. Guardians, you're probably going to be doing dispersion field because they've all got energy attacks.
It's rare that a squad will have both and force you to switch between the two, which is nice because you've only got the power phase to switch it during, which is a bit grim compared to someone like Vision.
It can be a bit grim, yeah. He doesn't have that reactive ability, does he, that lets him switch it. And then cut off 1 head. If an allied Hydra Trooper is not in play when this character is chosen to activate, place them into play within one of this character. They gain the stagger token and are part of your squad. So he does bring grunts along with him, Quinn. Before we get to the grunts, let's take a look at world domination, which is going to be his Hydra leadership. During the power phase, allied characters gain 1 power if they are holding or contesting an objective token. Meh.
I mean, it's effectively your team's Asgard now.
Yeah. From the second round, from round
base.
From round 2 onwards.
It just helps power things. I think it's worth mentioning that Hydra Troopers are by far and away the best grunts in the game.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about Hydra Troopers, Quinn. So they come on a medium base. They've got a short move. They're 1/2/2 defense, and they have 3 stamina, which is at least 1 more than most.
That's
2
one
more
for
than
each
others.
guy on the base.
It is 1 for each guy on the base. Hydra energy weapons, range 4, strength 4, 0 cost. Hydra assault, it's an action. They get to make a move action. And then during its next attack this turn, this character may reroll any number of its attack dice, but at the end of the attack, they are KO'd. Occupation force. This character cannot pick up, hold, or interact with extract objective tokens. This character does not have to pay power to interact with secure objective tokens. So I think it was Nick Fury who has the opposite to these, where they can do the extract stuff. This guy, these guys can do the secure stuff, but they can also, Quinn, they can also contest extract objective tokens because they do work on researcher, which is where you see them played quite a lot. Red Skull's interesting, Quinn. I see Red Skull, Master of Hydra, a lot. I don't see him a lot leading Hydra.
Well, no, because Strucker is just far more interesting as not only a leader but a character generally. I will say that he had a fall from grace by virtue of eyes going away.
He did.
He did used to be a very strong eyes player. Just go, full play eyes, all-consuming obsession, walk, grab, walk away. Done.
Yep.
Now he can be a little bit susceptible to, just a spread of attack types.
Definitely.
Always a bit of an issue for him. Like I said, best grunts in the game by far.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Really good. Blitz Strike and Empowered Gauntlets together can just mince people. He's like a mini Corvus.
Yeah.
He's Corvus, but he actually does other stuff. So he's better than Corvus.
I am glad he can't be with new Red Skull in Cabal anyway.
Yeah,
because that'd be a little bit brutal. It's pretty solid though, isn't it?
He's decent.
It's pretty solid. Like you say, if you're coming up against him and you have all energy and physical attacks or all mystic and physical attacks, it's a very easy game for him. If you are bringing a spread where you've got different attack types between energy and mystic, that becomes much more difficult for him, I would say, because, he is susceptible. If he's in mystic form and told Richard Ryder's coming up with his 9 dice builder, he's gonna have a bad time. Equally, if he's in energy form and somebody with even a hood with a rapid fire mystic builder, is gonna hurt him quite a bit. So I think that's his balancing factor, isn't it? The fact that he, you choose it once and then you're stuck with it until the next power phase. And that's kind of what levels him out a bit. I don't think I think his leadership's fine. It's just not interesting for me personally. Just not a fan. Does he have any? He does have a couple of cards, Quinn, doesn't he, that are exclusive to him? He's got
Occult Research is the main one, I think.
Yeah, so Endless Legions, which is just the first one I came to. During the power phase, he may play the card. Each time an allied Hydra Trooper would be KO'd this round, remove all damage from them. They are not KO'd. Then an opposing player pushes them short instead.
Welcome to the plethora of Hydra Tactic cards that are god-awful.
Yeah. But then, as you say, Quinn, Occult Research. During the power phase, Red Skull, Master of Hydra, may spend 10 power to play this card. Red Skull, Master of Hydra, and all characters within 2 of him gain a stagger token. Red Skull, Master of Hydra, gains the following superpower for the rest of the game. Arcane Invigoration. He may perform an additional action each activation.
Complete meme card, but I have played it and won games because of it before.
I am in the camp of this card is not very good.
Oh no, it's not. But it's no what's it called? Fearful Symmetry.
No.
It's a meme card, but it's a meme card that could actually do something if you decided to take it.
Yeah. So overall, Quinn, where do you think Red Skull, Master of Hydra is? And let's talk actually about how his splash ability has deteriorated since Eyes on the Prize has gone away.
Yeah.
You don't see him as much anymore because of that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he's fine. He's nothing to write home about. I don't think. Not in the current state of the game, anyway. Like he used to be pretty scary,
Yeah,
as were a lot of characters on this tier list, and now he's just not really.
yeah.
Um, I'd probably put in like between Panther and Juggernaut.
I think that's fair.
And
Yeah,
also bump Juggernaut down one and Abomination up one.
I
But
think actually after seeing Abomination a bit more, I think
Abomination is a unit, man.
He gets about the board a bit, doesn't he?
Mm.
As well. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. And B would be for.
Basically a Nazi.
I mean, it's not basically a Nazi.
Well, no, because some people always go, "Oh, Hydra weren't actually." Yet, I mean, they were. Like
Hydra were the science in the Marvel.
they're like
Hydra
the
were the
science division, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a whole bunch of stuff about Hydra being like thousands of years old as an organization, and a bunch of other bollocks.
Has he ever uttered the words Heil Hitler? If he has, he's a Nazi. So, and it's even Hail Hydra, right? Like they've even they've even stole it from him.
I'll give you a bonus fun fact that is for a different franchise related to this alphabet, or rather this character. Who plays Red Skull?
It is well, two people have played Red Skull.
Who plays proper Red Skull?
Hugo Weaving.
Yes. Now, what's Hugo Weaving also been in? There's two things you're going to mention. I'm talking about one of them, the one I prefer.
Lord of the Rings.
There we go. Now, there's an interesting thing that happens in Lord of the Rings in a flashback involving Hugo Weaving's character, Elrond.
Hugo Weaving plays characters in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, he plays a character, he voices another one.
Yes. No.
No.
I've learnt that fact recently as well. I think it's doing the rounds, isn't it?
It is doing the rounds.
Yes, yeah, because I didn't know that beforehand. That was not one of the Lord of the Rings trivia that I was aware of.
Did you know he kicks the helmet for real and breaks his toe, and that's why?
Who does?
What do you mean?
Who kicks a helmet?
Everyone knows this. I'm not humouring you.
Do you want to talk about Wanda? Ms. Maximoff.
Division.
Scarlet Witch.
Division.
3/4/4. Short base, medium move. 6 stamina on the front, 6 stamina on the back, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Counts almost every side of the dice when she makes attacks and defense. Hex bolt, range 4, strength 6, 0 cost, power equal to damage dealt. Chaos magic on a fail. After the attack is resolved, for each fail in the roll, your opponent gains bleed, hex, incinerate, or poison. So if you roll 4, they're getting all 4. Also, she counts them in results as well. Cruel Twist, range 3, strength 8, cost 6. Defending character does not add crit results in its defense or to its total successes and cannot add additional dice to its defense roll as a result of crit results. So basically, crits are just nullified. And then Reality Contortion, it's pierce, but with a failure. Telekinesis, cost 3, terrain size 4, range 3, throw it medium, once per turn. It's fine. Curse, we just spoke about Judgment Quinn. When this character is damaged by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, you can use this superpower. So spend 2 power, give them Judgment. Chosen of Chthon, when attacking, dodging, or defending, this character adds failure results into its total successes. So just includes an extra side of the die, Quinn, across the board. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Mm.
And then Hexfield, enemy characters performing a shake action while within 3 of this character may not remove hex, judgment, or poison. There's lots of ways to get around it. It's like it's a thing. Brings a couple of tactics cards, Quinn, that are definitely worth talking about. Because
one of them in particular, the other one,
Yeah. Well, it's part of 3. Difficult to please. We're not going to go through because it's not a great card, and it also involves a whole bunch of other characters as well. So it's not exclusive.
You still love that card.
I did when when the game was in a very different state. No More Mutants. I mean, this is effectively identical to Ebony Maw's Shush, right? Enemy character within 5 of Wanda spends 1 or more power to use a reactive or active superpower. Scarlet Witch spends 3 and basically turns it off. They still spend the power, and it's considered to have been used. So if it's a once per turn, they can't use it again. It's not bad, but her real good card, the Whims of Chaos. Scarlet Witch may spend any number of power to play this card. Choose 1 non-dazed character within 3 of Scarlet Witch for each power spent. Each allied character may remove 1 damage or 1 special condition. Each chosen enemy character gains Hex, Root, or Incinerate. So you can dump a whole bunch of power on this. Also affects herself as well. So she can remove stuff from herself. Doesn't have to be during her activation, Quinn.
No.
It's pretty good. The most value is removing horrendous conditions from your own team and then putting equally horrendous conditions on your opponent. It's limited to 1 thing per character, Quinn, isn't it? So it's 1 damage or 1 special condition, and then 1 special condition on your opponent. But it's pretty good. It's not a bad card, Quinn, is it, at all?
I'd argue it's a very good card.
I mean, it's stapled territory, right? It is stapled to her pretty much. So she's a pretty decent character. She's got a really good tactics card. She can do work. Like, she will dish out damage very, very consistently. Just where the game is right now and the affiliation she's in just doesn't really feel great.
I'd make an argument that she feels somewhat dated at this point. And I think the one thing that she's missing that would bring her back up to code is just some way of moving herself.
Yeah.
Right.
Spend 2 power,
give her
place
some
within
kind
range
of ability,
2.
Let her crawl out of a gong or creepy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, she's in Air Force, she's in Avengers, she's in Defenders, and she's in Brotherhood of Mutants. Like, the only real place you would see her is Brotherhood, and even then, not
really.
I always forget she's a Defender.
Mainly because I don't think she should.
No.
She'd make more sense in Convocation than Defenders.
Yeah, she would. She would. And actually,
it'd be a good home for her as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad home. It wouldn't be a bad home. Yeah, I think her throw is a little bit overcosted. Her lack of mobility is also... Her lack of mobility or lack of displacement, I think, is very noticeable.
Yeah, she is very much just, I am a turret, I stand here. She's like Modok, and not in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. And she can dish out a huge amount of damage.
Oh, yeah, she can absolutely wreck face, but
but you also
sometimes
throw
wrecking face isn't going to win you the game.
Yeah, you also throw a building into her and she's going to go down, right? So, yeah, I think she'd be one of those characters that I'd be like, she's not quite, Jean bad, but if they were to, give her a little tweak here and there, I'd be perfectly fine with that, of giving her a little boost. So in my head, I'm like, she's somewhere in C.
Yeah, I think she's somewhere in C as well. I think I prefer her over Tanky Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, I don't think she's far off.
No,
right?
she's giving her a movement ability is hardly a groundbreaking revelation in terms of an update to her kit to put her in B.
No, I mean, what would you... I'd like to see something a little bit different, though, than spend 2 for a range 2 place. Like, just, something else would be quite cool. But yeah, some mobility is definitely needed. But yeah, Sequin is for...
C is for Chthon's chosen.
She is the chosen of Chthon.
No, she's Chthon's chosen. I've renamed it. Meh.
Okay. Sentinel Prime Mark 4 next Quinn. I mean, we spoke about how bad Klaw's leadership was.
To be honest, I'd forgotten how bad this leadership was.
Like, I mean, let's just... If there was ever a leadership that supported the fact that we should have tags in this game, Emma's is number 1. This is number 2.
Funnily enough, it all revolves around mutants.
Mutants, yeah. Let's start with his leadership, Quinn, because it just sets the tone, really, doesn't it? Mutant Hunters, Affiliation Sentinels. When an enemy character is dazed, after the effect is resolved, choose a number of allied characters up to the dazed character's threat value. Each chosen character gains 1 power. A character cannot gain more than 1 power as a result of this leadership ability each turn. So, only dazed, not KO'd. And let's be honest, you've got a 5-threat Sentinel Prime, a 5-threat Cassandra Nova. In most situations, you're only able to take another 2 characters because one of them will be another Mark IV Sentinel. And then,
or a rogue agent, more likely, let's be honest.
Yeah. But really, you're limited to like 4 characters wide in this leadership. So already, if you daze anything above a 4 threat, there is diminishing returns on this leadership. It's so bad. It's
in fact,
not
it's just dazed as well.
Well, and not only that, it has no... Like, where have they read a comic book or watched a TV show and gone, this feels like Sentinels?
Yes, we have captured the thing. We now gain more power. What? No, normally you just fuck off after that.
Well, yeah, really, really, really do not get this leadership whatsoever. This for me as a leadership needs to go into the scrap it and completely rework it. Because guess what? One of the things these guys don't need is any more power because they all gain extra power at the end of the turn. Like, terrible, terrible, terrible leadership. Right.
Does it get an official Rich Mid thumbs down?
It does get an official Rid Mitch. It gets 2 thumbs down.
I mean, it got it from Rid Mitch as well.
It got it from Rid Mitch as well. Yeah, words are hard, apparently.
Jekyll and Hyde persona.
Yes. Yes.
You won't like Mr. Mid-Rich.
Rid Mitch. Yeah.
Yes, the evil Rid Mitch.
So that's his shit leadership out of the way, Quid. Now let's talk about him as a character. 3/4/4, 10 stamina on his front. I think it drops down to 8 on his back. So 18 stamina. I think that makes him like the 4th highest stamina character in the game.
I mean, definitely top of this threat band, right?
Yes, because there's no Hulk, is there, in here?
No.
So yeah, so good amount of stamina and distributed in the right way as well, right? 10 stamina is pretty darn good. Size 5. Size 5, we spoke about how Richard Rider had that throw and how 98% of the game is affected by it. Being a size 5 does have some big benefits. It also has some downsides as well, because that's a repeatable size 5 thing that if you can throw it, can just get yeeted around the board.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit grim.
But not a lot of things can throw size 5. So, that does level it down a little bit. So stat wise, why they're only 3, why he's only 3 physical is beyond me. Like, he could very easily have been 4/4/4. But let's have a look at his attacks. Plasma Blast Mark 2, range 3, strength 5, power equal to damage dealt. But when you choose this attack, you can spend up to 3 power to add up to 3 dice. Basically, Quinn, they stole the thing that I said that Cable should have.
Yep, they definitely stole it from you. It's not like they have a 2-year lead time on any of these creations or anything like that. Nope, they stole it from you.
Good. I'm glad we've agreed that that's what happened.
I mean, I feel like we've mentioned this before, but this is like how when I was a kid, I thought of the idea of having cars turn off their engines when they're not in motion at fucking traffic lights. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be good for the environment. And then a few years later, oh, they started bringing out cars, did that. They didn't steal it from me, Rich.
They did. They Ford got in your head. They Cassandra Nova the shit out of you, and then they stole it. Yeah, that's how this is why you are like you are, Quinn.
It explains so much.
But it's fine, right? A variable builder is fine. You spend 3 power on it as a power dump. You would, and you're not always guaranteed to get that 3 power back. You'd get some back. You've also got the ability to get more back because some of those can crit as well. Spender's going to be Suppression Protocols Mark 2, range 3, strength 9, cost 4. And then Suppression, after the attack is resolved for each wild in the roll, the defending character gains one of the special conditions: Incinerate, Shock, Slow. Fine. Restraint Cables, choose an enemy character within 4, and then push towards his character short. Cost 2, once per turn. If you're going to do that, this is how it should be. Take note, Web Warriors. Pattern Analysis, it's another spend X. But this time it's just for attacking or defending. Up to 3. This character or anyone within 4 get to reroll 3 dice. Power Matrix, gains 2 power at the end of its turn. Sentinel Programming, can be advanced or pushed by Mystic attacks or superpowers. When defending against Mystic, you count wilds as 2 successes. And then Flight, immunity to bleed and poison. Does he change a little bit? He does change a little bit.
A different attack, right?
No, it's not an attack on these
it's the power gain, right?
This is the power gain. So he loses the 2 power at the end of his turn, and he gets Overloading Power Core. During the power phase, roll 5 dice for each crit and hit rolled. You gain a power. If at least 1 failure was rolled, you suffer 1 damage. So that's where it changes up, and as we've already said, goes down to 3. Sorry, down to 8 stamina. As a character, Quinn, fine. But Sentinels are not in a good spot. This Sentinel is one of the reasons.
They were never in a good spot, nor do I think they were ever going to be in a good spot.
No. They need a new leader. They need these guys
need actual affiliated characters. That'd help.
Yeah, they have 3.5 affiliated characters. These guys are not in a good spot.
They've got one of those cards that people think will give them an affiliated character, but doesn't really.
No, it doesn't do it. It doesn't do it because you already need to be affiliated before.
In order to even play the card, no less.
Yeah. Yeah. Just not very good, Quinn.
No.
Really not very good at all. I would argue even his kit isn't very good because, yes, he's got things like a restraint cables, but Power Matrix is just worse than Asgard. Getting at the end of your activation means that it just doesn't do stuff turn 1. If these guys got 1 power at the beginning of the turn, or an extra power during the power phase, so they could use restraint cables turn one. Like that'd be something that they could have. Like they could pull people in, beat them up, generate some power. But like, you ain't ever triggering this leadership so that somebody else can get an extra power, so that when they activate, they can do it turn one or round one, because they're just not good enough. Yeah, susceptible to physical, which is just stupid. Like these, for me, Quinn, these are the wrong Sentinels that they should have had in the game. I would have much preferred the Sentinels that are adapting and like imitate and have copied the mutants and have some of their powers and things like that. I think you could have just done a lot more with them than what we have in the game right now.
Hopefully end up as like a future release for them, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it helps me in particular. I just don't really care about them. Like, big robot.
Yeah, they're just not good enough.
Like,
as a character,
not
as a leader.
Big robots. Like,
yeah.
Same as I'm not that into like dinosaurs. Like, it's just not my thing.
You don't like dinosaurs?
Not overly fun. I was never a dinosaur kid.
I love dinosaurs growing up. I actually wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid.
Oh. See, my thing wasn't dinosaurs, it was vampires.
You wanted to be a vampire hunter when you were a kid?
No, I wanted to be a vampire. No, the vampire itself. Thrall. What do you take me for?
You're more Guillermo than although who is actually now a vampire. Yeah, just no interest. No, sorry, I do have interest in them. Poorly executed, doesn't feel like Sentinels, terrible leadership. 18 stamina and he gives out rerolls. That's kind of all I've got that's in the good side of it. D tier for me, Quinn.
Yeah.
Better or worse than Jean?
Better.
Just because Jean's so bad.
Jean!
D Quinn is for?
Destruction of self. A Sentinel Prime autobiography.
Fair. Amal Farouk, aka Shadow King, next. Obviously under the 5 threat. 3/4/5 defenses, which always feels weird.
But potentially the MCP character with the most used car salesman energy.
Oh god, yeah. 6 stamina on his front, 6 stamina on his back, so lacking in that side of things. Medium base, short move, size 3. Mental shackle, range 3, strength 6, power equal to damage dealt. Root on a wild. If you deal damage, you advance the target short. Like, it's not bad. Like, it's not amazing, but it's not, it's not bad. Astral disintegration. Range 2, strength 5, costs 4. Add dice to the attack roll equal to the amount of power the target character has to a maximum of 5. Target character cannot reroll or modify dice in the defense roll for this attack. It's like a maximum strength 10 attack. It's fine.
It's like a crap penance there, isn't it?
It's like a really bad penance there that cost 1 less, but yeah. Astral Fiend, spend 3 power. It's an action.
Do we have to bother reading this out? It's awful.
I know. Place a projection token within 3 of this character. When measuring range for this character's attacks or superpowers, measure from the projection token. When measuring range for enemy mystic attacks, enemy characters may measure to this character or its projection token. When this character is dealt damage by an enemy mystic attack, remove this token. At the beginning of the cleanup phase, remove this token. So, it costs an action.
And 3 power.
And it gets removed.
Right. What intern put action before this?
like, I get what they like. Again, I get what they were going for, right? It's like he sent the fiend out. He's put a token there. You can hit somebody's backline, right? Like, clever idea. 3 power.
Clever idea is a bit of a stretch, but sure.
3 power with an action is like, why would you ever do this? Why would you ever do this?
It's like if you, like, you know, if you captured an alien and tried to get it to, like, write an MCP rule. Or
ChatGPT, like, write me an MCP
you were
rule.
training it, like, this would be the kind of garbage it'd spout out for you.
Yeah. Like, just terrible. Absolutely terrible. If it's
I don't know
action...
whether this was, like, a thing where, like, once again, like Mephisto, it was really good in playtesting, and they decided to, like, slap an action on top of it, and it's like, I don't think you've realised the almost irreparable damage you've done to the character by doing this.
It becomes useless, right? It's right. A useless thing. Like, yeah, it's
like, if you really need to hit a particular character that is out of range of you walking and hitting them, but a range 3 place and hitting them, does it? Maybe. But even then,
like, I take away action. I would even say take away beginning of cleanup phase. I think it's just something you could leave there, and then keep the part in about if he's dealt damage by or maybe even Quinn, when he's dealt damage by a mystic attack, he gets to roll a dice. On a crit hit wild, it stays. On anything, or a crit wild block, it stays. Anything else, it's removed. It's like him, focusing and trying to keep it in play. Like,
I mean, at that point, like, I'd kind of want it to just be if he's, hit by any attack. Like,
yeah,
you make it roll a dice, but, like, maybe it's only on, like, blank or fail, it goes away.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. Again, like, cute idea, terribly executed.
Yeah.
Immortal Essence, spend 3 power, remove 3 damage.
Whoa.
What a great way to encapsulate.
Bit expensive. Expensive.
Groot spends 2.
Yeah. And it's 2 threat less.
And has more stamina. So has more opportunity to be able to use it.
Also, yeah, completely captivates. Immortal Essence.
Yeah.
Immortal Essence, I wield the power of a med pack. Woo!
There's only I can use once. I only use it once per turn.
I mean, that's more often than you can use the med pack, which is never.
That is true. Nightmare Visions. Spend 4. Yes.
Jesus.
4. When a character ends an advance, so just an advance, within 3 of this character may use this superpower. Roll 3 dice. The enemy character suffers 1 damage for each crit and wild in the result. If this power deals at least 1 damage, this character may advance to... Right. It is tricks and traps.
But all the others. Way.
But the only thing... they're all range 3.
Yeah.
So it's just an advance... And it's less when you can use it.
1, it's less likely to trigger. 2, it's less dice.
It's less. Because what you do
3, it's less likely to do damage than Electro's.
Yeah. So what they did was they went, right, Mysterio's thing's pretty good. He's a 3 threat, right? So what we're going to do is take that and we're going to put it on this much better 5 threat character. And the way we're going to make it much better is to restrict the number of times you can use it, make it more expensive, and give you 1 less dice.
All in return for moving the person if you do a damage, which you are less likely to do.
Yes.
You know, I've had a thought, Rich.
Go on. Which is more than what whoever designed this character had, by the way.
I want to peer into like the AMG playtest vault where they keep like all of the different iterations of a character that went through playtesting, and I want to look at what obscene, abominable creation they had that they felt the need to like just turn it into nothing. Like it was so heinous that they had to like seal it away through like a ring of salt and like a reversed pentagram. Like, what the hell did Shadow King do?
He must have done something because, like,
did he like take Pagani's like family hostage or something? Like,
I genuinely think they may have built a character that had real life implications. Like he was that powerful. He was like manifesting himself.
They had to like call in like John Constantine.
Oh dearie me! He's got a card, Quinn. He's got a card. During the power phase, Shadow King may spend 1 power to play this card, choose a secure objective token, and place an astral incursion token on it. Enemy characters suffer 1 damage when they end an activation within 1 of the astral incursion, and when they interact with the objective token marked by the astral incursion. And then, at the end of the cleanup phase, remove it. Like, fine. Like, it's like Spider Tracker. What's the what's the one that the not Spider Tracker? The one that the who is it guys have Spider Foes?
Oh, Sinister Traps.
Yeah, it's like similar, but again worse. Like,
I mean, you've got Sinister Traps, and then you've got like vaguely malevolent incursion.
No, this is the astral plane, Quinn. Like, this is some deep shit. It's fair to say he's going in D tier.
I think he's going in the bottom of it.
He's worse than Jean, which is not.
I'm gonna step in and do the alphabet here. You just said he's worse than Jean. You know what D is for?
Go on.
Didn't think it was possible.
Well, I was going to say, it is no mean feat to be worse than Jean Grey in this game.
I mean, typically, when someone's like D tier worthy, we offer some kind of like vague glimmer of hope of what they could be, right? Shadow King as a character, like, most famous for his interactions with Storm.
I think so, yeah.
Because, like, when she was a pickpocket as a kid, it was, like, for him. And, like, Charles did, like, a mind duel and was like, I'm in a wheelchair. Because that's, like, his catchphrase. Like, and then he, like, rears his ugly head and, like, typically what he does is he locks down a particular person and then, like, everybody else has to come and, like, deal with him to rescue them, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, that speaks to heavy condition game. Like, whacking, like, slows and staggers and stuns and, like, just really loading up a particular character with those conditions. Like, if he had, like... Ooh, right, so box already comes with a token, right? Comes with the stupid astral fiend.
Yep.
Remove that as, like, you know, a thing he puts on the board. That is now a token you put on an enemy character at the start of the game. Whilst within, like, when a character with the Astral Fiend token ends their activation within 5 of the Shadow King, they get given, I don't know, let's say, the poison condition. When they end their activation within 4, they get stun. Within 3, they get shock. Within 2, they get stagger. Like,
that's pretty cool. Or maybe have it working both ways so that he can advance towards them and
Yeah.
You can trigger it as well as them triggering it. Like, just anything.
I've already made you a more interesting character in like 5 seconds of thinking.
All he has is a worse version of Penance there, an active superpower that is just utterly useless, an active superpower that is...
I'd argue it's worse than useless, because if you do use it, it's actively detrimental.
Yeah. A heal ability that is worse than a 3-threat, a more expensive reactive ability that does less than another 3-threat, and he's an Omega. Right, this really annoys me. I have a bugbear. Is he the only character in the game right now that has Omega level in any of their descriptives?
Jean.
Oh yeah, Jean has it as well. Yeah, Omega level multiversal entity, and you're like,
they didn't just stop at Omega level; they went to multiversal.
So, being in a game where Bill gets an extra power for being a horse and friends with Asgard, what on earth could an Omega level multiversal entity get? It's the same thing as the horse face guy. Oh, okay. What?
Right. Right.
And it's not like Quinn, that extra power does anything for him because he just... Oh, utter top. Is he the worst character in the game?
I genuinely think he's the worst character in the game. Which is a shame, because I really like his model.
His model is so good. His model is so good.
Like, he's taking his fez while he's got, like, the big shadow demon behind.
Oh, he is. He has got absolute big dick energy. Tipping his fez, but with a big shadow demon behind him. Yeah. Right. And D is... Oh, we've already done it. Done it. We don't need to do it. Oh, my, so bad. He's so bad. Anyway, Jane Foster, Mighty Thor, falls across the board. 8 stabbing. Already better.
What is she good for? Quite a bit, actually.
Already better than Farouk. Medium move, small base, size 2. She's a leader. We'll get to that in a second. Hammer strike, range 3, strength 6, power equal to damage dealt. And then on a, weirdly, her throwing a hammer throws somebody, which I love. Size 4 or less.
It's not her throwing the hammer. She's just got a wider range strike than normal Thor, right?
Why? Why is her... If you were putting them in a boxing ring together, and it was... Because there's a stat called reach, right? Which is effectively how long your arms are. How does Jane have a longer reach than Thor?
She's more nippy.
Is she?
I mean, I'd imagine. Like, Thor, not the most maneuverable of characters, I'd argue.
Fair. Okay, but either way... It's
especially not unless, like, the hammer's pulling him off.
Hammer pulls you off. You got pulled off by a hammer. But a pretty decent builder, Quinn, right? Range 3, strength 6.
I'd argue good builder.
It's a good builder. Good builder. Lightning Blast, range 4, strength 8, cost 4. Electric Shock on a Wild. Before damage is dealt, all other characters within 2 suffer 2 damage.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then the target character, which is just the one that you attacked, gains the shock special condition just as is. 2 damage is crazy on that, Quinn.
Yeah.
Crazily
good. Real good.
Well,
like I said with Loki, the amount of chip damage that Asgard could put out is kind of dumb.
Also, this is a spender that she can potentially do twice. And I always think that's something that people don't take into consideration, because you do this once against target A, targets B and C all take 2 damage, you've left target A on 1 damage, you do it to target B, and because it's before damage is dealt, even if you one-shot someone, you still get to do it. Like,
Not only can she do this bender twice, she can do it twice with Loki rerolls.
yeah, why not, eh?
Fish for that world. Go for it.
Indeed. Right, for Midgard, character makes a move action followed by an attack action. When making this attack, this character may reroll up to 2 of its dice. This superpower can only be used once per turn.
Arguably worse than for Asgard, I'd say. I'd rather the stagger.
I'd rather the stagger, but I mean, with her fishing for that throw, that's quite nice, right? Yeah. Being able to fish for it. Inner strength, terrain size 4, within 2, throw it medium, only once per turn. The reason this isn't our character is because she's got a throw on a builder. Like,
I mean, you say that Thor exists.
Yeah. But
I mean, maybe that's the trade-off. She gets an extra range on the builder. He gets characters.
Yeah. So like it's fine. If she be worthy, cost 2, reactive, defending against physical or energy, you just get to reroll any number of dice basically, which is just stupid for 2 power.
Real good. Yeah.
And it's reroll any number, not reroll all as well, which is just
not quite as good as Blade's reflex thing, because Blade's reflex thing also allows you skulls, I believe.
It does.
Same as Hulk, but like,
it does. Yeah.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah, and then blessed by the All-Mother basically makes her Asgardian because she's not Asgardian, but they need her to have extra power because she's in Asgard. Flight and immunities to shock, as all good Thors should have. She's pretty good, Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, she's got some cards as well.
She's got some cards. She's also got a leadership.
Oh, yeah.
The Renegade Thor of Asgardia. Once per turn, when an allied character attacks an enemy character within 2 of itself, the allied character may reroll 1 of its attack dice. And then additionally, when an enemy character targets an allied character with an attack, if the enemy character is not within 2, the allied character may roll 1 of its defense dice. So it works on both ends, but there's a stipulation on either side of it. Definitely not the strongest Asgard leadership. We've already established who that is.
I mean, I'd argue the worst Asgard leadership of the 3, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. But as a character, she's pretty darn good.
Worst Asgard
fine.
leadership, not worst Asgard leader. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think she's better than the OG, right?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. Comes with Heart of the Worthy Quinn, which is an interesting card. At the end of the activation phase, an allied The Mighty Thor may spend 2 power to play this card. The Mighty Thor removes her activated token and she immediately activates. During the next cleanup phase, the Mighty Thor is KO'd. So it's a bit of a last gasp, like, I'm going to lose this unless I do X, Y, and Z, and she gets to do X, Y, and Z. It's not a turn 2 play, is it? Like,
does this combo with Doomed Prophecy at all?
You would have to play Doomed Prophecy.
Yeah, but if she's had like her Doomed Prophecy turn that round, does she get another go with the Doomed Prophecy dice or not?
Let's check. Doomed Prophecy. At the start of the activation phase, an allied character may spend 3 power to play this card. Until the next cleanup phase. So it does.
Well, that could be something.
She would have to survive.
She would have to survive, but, you know, if she's taken out the main threats with, you know, 2 10 dice hammer strikes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad, is it? And then following it up with another 2 10 dice hammer strikes.
With the mobility of Midgard in there to get around the board to whatever you need to fight.
Yeah, and an extra terrain throw and anything else that she does.
Yeah.
So,
And
look,
like, it's not like you're going to conserve the power because it's gone.
yeah. I mean, this is something that is just a last ditch. I do this, I'm going to win.
Isn't something for a leader in my mind.
No.
This is not the kind of card I would associate with any character with leadership.
No, because you don't want your leader to leave, do you?
Yeah, you're just sacrificing even more.
So, fun? Competitive? Probably not. I would argue, Quinn.
Yeah, like, I think she's a character. Can be pretty competitive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a character, but the card, not too much.
Nah.
As a character, she has a big problem in that there is not a lot of space for her in Asgard at the moment because of what else exists. If you tone down what other people can do, I think all of a sudden her viability goes up and you'd see more of her. But she's just overshadowed a little bit at the moment. But I still think a pretty decent character.
Yeah, fine.
Like, absolutely fine.
Well, I'm not sure how likely she is to be splashed, for instance, but I mean, I could kind of see it.
She's A-Force as well.
Oh yeah, because that's an affiliation that exists.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, where would you see her splashed as a 5 threat?
I think she just gets added to that mix of punchy 5 threats, right?
Yeah, and that's what she is, right? You know, takes a beating. I think she's B tier, Quinn. I think she's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Don't really think anything needs to be changed. I think she's probably now better than Red Skull.
I'd argue she's better than Panther, to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
I think she could compete with Black Bolt, but because Black Bolt's leadership is just so good.
It's really good, isn't it? So, yeah. Okay, Quinn. From one pretty good Thor to the other one.
I still like him. You leave him alone.
And B is for?
B is for beat cancer, question mark, in the comics?
In the comics, maybe. Definitely not in the MCU.
Oh, no, in the MCU, she, dies of sadness, right?
Oh, she doesn't do a Padme, does she?
I mean, she is Padme.
No, I know, but does she... Is it dying of sadness? No, in the MCU, she doesn't die of sadness, right?
I mean, doesn't she die in a really unnecessary way?
Probably.
Wasn't it, completely preventable?
Yeah, probably. I know she had cancer.
Oh, yeah, and then she, gets that... Well, because isn't it the hammer that gives it to her or something?
No, didn't she have it already?
No, doesn't the hammer accelerate it? And basically make it to the point where the moment she's without the hammer, she's gone.
She becomes reliant on the hammer. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, who cares? That film was terrible.
It was so bad.
Absolute waste of Christian Bale.
Yeah. Oh, and Eternity. And Gore the God Butcher as a character. Yeah, so bad. Anyway, Prince of Asgard, Thor Odinson. OG Thor, Quinn. Falls across the board. 7 strength, so not 7-8, so fine. Size 2. Size 2.
I have said from day one that he should be size 3. Have you seen the size of him?
Yeah. Small base, medium move, fine. Strike, fine. It is just worse than the Thor we've been through because it's range 2 rather than range 3. Throws his hammer. It's a guaranteed shock. It's range 5. I just don't think it should cost anything.
This should be a flat 1 gainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And then God of Thunder. area 2, strength 7, costs 4. We might have said it cost 6 earlier. Maybe that was the old
because
cost.
it used to cost 6 and it didn't
Yeah.
give shock. Yeah.
And then, yeah, shock, guaranteed shock at the end of it. Like, it's fine, but, like, yeah.
You're only doing it in niche situations.
Very
using
niche.
Strike.
Yeah, very niche. For Asgard, it's pretty good, actually, Quinn. Action, move followed by a strike. If you do damage, you dish out stagger once per turn. It's actually not bad at all. Strongest Avenger, size 4, terrain or character, within 2, throw it medium, costs 3. They don't come much better than that, do they? In terms of throws. Asgardian, so he gets an extra power. Flight, immunity to shock and stun. And then he has Prince of Asgard as his leadership. At the start of each of your turns, one ally character may spend 1 power. If they do, remove 1 damage or 1 special condition from that character. Each allied character may use this leadership once per round.
I really like his leadership.
It is still very, very good.
Like, I had, like, a period of playing a lot of Asgard. And, like, that leadership with old Loki, and just going, healing him 1, I'm healing him 1, I'm healing him 1, you can't touch him, leave him alone.
Well, and just effectively becoming immune to, like, stagger and things like that.
Yeah, immunity to stagger, as long as you haven't already used it earlier in the round, is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, very good lead. Could you imagine the new Thor being a leader and having this? Like,
no, I couldn't, because I don't tend to manifest nightmares into reality. I'm not the Shadow King. Diabolical creature the Shadow King truly was.
There we go. Yeah. He's got a couple of cards, mostly team up, I want to say, because he's got...
I mean, he's got Get Help. I like that.
He's got Get Help, a.k.a. Sibling Rivalry.
No, it's just Get Help. We don't call it by that name, ever.
He can use Overcharge. He can use Thunderwave. He can also use Brothers in Arms. He's got a few cards he can use. Like, arguably Sibling Rivalry is the better of them. Maybe Brothers in Arms, but like it really matters less with this version of Thor versus the other version of Thor. It's fair to say, Quinn, he has been somewhat overshadowed with the release of New Thor. I still like his leadership. Do you think there's any place for this version of Thor as he is with Asgard right now?
No. Like, there's very little place for the majority of Asgard characters in Asgard as it is right now. Because let's face it, there are 3 busted characters in Asgard.
Yep. It's the LBT, or the BLT even. And as we sort of said, Bill is the least of them.
Yeah, Bill is the least of those 3, and even still.
Yeah. I don't think Thor is bad. He's just very, very overshadowed. And he doesn't feel like he's not a big hit. I actually don't think this version of Thor is that much of a big hitter. Like, God of Thunder is like the most dice he can roll, and it's an area attack. I don't know.
I think, honestly, his real home is Avengers at the minute.
I think that's fair.
Like,
yeah, 2 cost for Asgard, 2 cost strongest Avenger.
2 cost Prince of Asgard, so you can do it turn 1. Now, I've misread it. Ignore me.
I know. I realised you said it wrong because that's the leadership. That's what I mean. Two cost for Asgard is
Yeah.
really good, right? I used to love the old days where you used to gamma throw Hulk. You used to take Hulk, Steve, and Thor, and turn one you'd just yeet Thor into the middle and be like, ah. I think he needs a little bit of help, Quinn, and I think because of that, he's in C tier. I don't think he is good enough to get into B. He's nowhere near bad enough to be in D. But he's probably up at the top end of C tier.
I think he's only in C tier because that other version of Thor exists.
And
I think
that is...
the inevitable moment that Thor gets nerfed, he bumps up into, like, low to mid B at a minimum.
I think that's fair.
He's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I would like to see Hammer Throw be at least 0 cost.
If
maybe
not a gainer, yeah.
Maybe not a gainer, because that's vile.
It's not vile. What are you on about?
I think if you make it a gainer, you have to put a wild on there for the shot.
No, make it a gainer and keep it as it is.
No.
Yes.
Vile. And Sequin is 4.
Crowded out.
Yeah, fair, really. Absolutely fair. Phil the Troll next. Sorry, Ulik the Troll next.
Shall we call Ron and get him in as a guest on this segment?
Just for this next one. Well, to be fair, I've played a lot of Ulik in Winterguard.
Yeah, but you've not played a lot of Ulik as well as Ron has.
No. Ulik, 434, 7 stamina on his front. I want to say he stays at 7 on his back. Size 3, medium base, medium move. Pounders Quinn is pretty darn good. It's only 6 strength, but on a wild he gets the push, size 4 or less, and it's an omnidirectional push, which a lot of people forget about. And the implications of that, basically you can push them back in towards the rest of your team, is pretty darn good. Shatter Mountain, Shatter Bones, range 2, strength 9, cost 5. They just gain the stagger special condition at the end of it. But if you get the magic mix of hit, crit, wild with a fail, you give them an activator token instead. Bad Manners, it's fine. Like, terrain features size 4, within 2, throw it medium.
Touch expensive for what it is.
Yeah, especially on a 5 threat.
Yeah.
Crushing Leap, this is where it gets a little bit good. Cost 3, it's an action. This character makes a short advance, then is placed within 2 of itself, then makes a pounder's attack. So it's kind of like a charge in that you get to do movements, but with a medium base, a short move and then a range 2 place is quite far. Much more than medium, put it that way. And then you get to make the attack at the back end of it. What's missing off this Quinn that other chargers have that this one doesn't?
Not once per turn.
It is not once per turn. So you can do this once and then do it again. And if you get power into him turn 1, because he generates an extra power, because apparently being an Omega level is the same of having a bit of a temper, he gets an extra power during the power phase. So he only needs 1 power to be able to do Crushing Leap turn 1, which is how I used to play Quinn in Winterguard. So I would take Advanced R&D, Dynamo, I would get him to generate more power, push your power into Ulik. Ulik would go off and do horrible things. Trollhide, reduce damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. I also think that's what Ron used to do in Humans as well, wasn't it? Giving extra power into Ulik to turn it on. He does have a tactics card, Quinn. Rock Control. Spend 3 power to play the card. Drop all objectives. Place yourself within 5. Doesn't even need to be his turn.
Yeah, I'm over it.
We dismissed Ulik, Quinn, early days, and then we very quickly learned the error of our ways, didn't we? When Ron went on to win an event with him. I think we probably learned before then.
Not just an event, but the York Weekender, which is
York
the
Weekender.
biggest event around.
Yeah. He's pretty good. In fact, he's very good, I would say, Quinn. Like, I like him a lot. He's in, I want to say, Cabal and Crimson. He's a great Crimson character. Really good Crimson character. Have you managed to play much with him, Quinn?
No, I'm not really a big Ulik player. He doesn't really go in the places that I tend to. Doesn't go in the affiliations I play. Really doesn't.
That's fair.
Splash into anything I play. Like for a start, he's a baddie. I don't really play the bad guys.
You don't play a
in
lot
those
of bad
games.
guys, do you? Yeah. Apart from Dracula.
Oh, he's a good guy, mate.
Dracula being the good guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What, you just trying to make everybody immortal?
Sorry,
What's wrong with that?
your big affiliation you've been playing of late is Hydra. Those well-known good guys.
Well, yeah, Red Skull's a bad guy. Everybody else, like, it's fine.
Are they?
Well, pretend they
Arnim-
are for the purposes of my argument.
Arnim Zola?
He's just a little Teletubby man. What's wrong with him?
Just a little. He's just Kang. Is it Kang or Krang from the
Krang,
Teenage Mutant?
Kang is the conqueror, dude.
He is. Yes. No. We don't. He's like Voldemort now. We don't say his name if Disney hear us.
I mean, you've just said Voldemort's name.
Well, I've also just done that as well. Yeah.
Mm.
I quite like him, Quinn. I think he is a decent character. You don't see him a huge amount, but I think he can do a job. I think he's pretty decent in Crimson, in particular with Kingpin's Crimson. Just all that extra displacement and stuff is pretty darn good. Get a little bit of power into him early doors, and he can snowball quite a lot. He can activate a character, which is quite nice. I think he's B tier. His tactics card's quite good. Like, just a range 5 place is pretty darn good. I'd put him in B tier. Probably put him like somewhere in between Juggernaut and Abomination. Probably split the big boy. Probably split the big boys down the middle.
I think that's fair.
Not the same characters, but do a similar job, right? Displacement, move around the board, take a bit of a beating. I think that's a perfectly fine place for him. And B would be
Bashes people with Uru knuckle dusters.
He does. And then we should point, this is actually Phil's favourite character, isn't it? Or one of them.
I don't think he's his favourite character, but
he was so excited when Ulik was
technically,
released.
Ulik is the reason that we actually properly know Phil, because he gave me like back talk when I was saying he was shit when he first came out.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you're one of the few people here with a spine. Join us."
Yes, join us. It turns out he was right. Right, Quinn. Our penultimate
He was
character.
right for the wrong reasons.
He was right for the wrong reasons, yeah. I mean, and to be fair, a broken clock is right twice a day. So,
So the broken Swede, it turns out.
So it's a broken Swede, yeah. This boy's had a bit of a fall from grace, Quinn. Ultron Metal Tyrant.
In grace, let's be honest. He's had a fall from dishonor and depravity.
Yeah. 445. So this is the new version of Ultron, comes in the new core box. 445 stat line, 8 stamina on his front, 6 stamina on his back. Size 3, medium base, I want to say, medium move. Concussion blasters, range 4, strength 6. Does a poison and a bleed on a wild, power equal to damage dealt. It's pretty darn good. Extinction protocols, range 3, strength 8. Costs 4. Before damage is dealt, just throw them short if they're size 4 or less. No trigger. And then explosive force. After the attack is resolved, other characters within 2 of this character are pushed away from this character short. No, it's characters, not enemy characters. And then push characters take 1 damage. Kinetic field generator cost 3, terrain feature, size 4 or less, within range 3, throw it medium. Like, again, it's fine. I don't... Encephalo?
Encephalo.
Encephalo beam. Choose an enemy character within 3, advance is short. Like, it's fine. Cost 2. It's fine. Metal Mind, it's the Mystic double wild thing like we've seen before.
What you would have thought.
Yeah. And then another reactive is I will create a better age. When a terrain feature is destroyed by an allied effect, if there is not an allied Ultron drones in play, you may place an Ultron drones into play within 3 of this character. It gains the stagger special condition and is now part of your squad.
Oh wow, you get back the worst grunts in the game.
Yeah, immunity, bleed, poison. So let's have a quick look at his grunts. Stamina 3. Actually, I didn't realise there was stamina 3.
Doesn't matter, they don't do anything.
Yeah. Energy Blast, range 3, strength 4. Rough around the edges when this character will be removed from the battlefield. Enemy characters within 2 of this character suffer 1 damage. Ultron gains 1 power for each damage dealt in this way. Program for destruction. They cannot pick up, hold, interact, or contest objective tokens. Real bad.
It could have at least given them some form of rerolls like it does for Nebula.
Yeah.
Not like full rerolls, because that would be a bit grim, but like a reroll at least.
One reroll would have been fine, wouldn't it? Don't think he changes on his other side. Let's have a look at his tactics cards, Quinn. Age of... Oh, no. So, Ultron may play this card during his activation. It's the Glory of Ultron. Each enemy character within 2 of Ultron or an allied Ultron drones may spend 1 power. For each character that spent power, Ultron gains 1 power. Each character that did not spend power suffers a damage. Basically, just giving power to Ultron. Like...
Right.
Yeah, like... it isn't great, is it?
No.
In the slightest. But yes, Quinn, losing Age of Ultron has, I'm not going to say stopped this character from being played, but stopped this character from being everywhere. Yeah. I think is fair to say. Because as we discussed with Ghost Rider, characters who can just come back to life are a little bit broken.
Especially when they're good characters, which Ultra Metal Tyrant was, and new and improved. New feels like something that I shouldn't be adding there. He's been like this for far too long. Yeah. Ghost Rider, like, oh yeah. Yeah, he's not copped anything. I know he has to sacrifice a tooth. Ooh, woe's him.
Yeah, it's not really a big ask, is it? So with all that said and done, Quinn, and, remembering that he is, not able to bring himself back from the death anymore, where do you think Ultron sits? Because personally, I still think he's perfectly fine as a character.
He's like either side of Jugs, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right.
I'd probably put him just above Jugs. I feel like I'm more worried about Ultron being on the table than Juggernaut.
Yeah, I think most of that is because Juggernaut's a bit shit, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, does Juggernaut go down the bottom end of B?
I think he probably does. I'd be more concerned with Sorcerer Supreme than I would be with Jugs.
I think that's fair.
Honestly, I'd be more concerned with Thor than I would be with Jugs.
Yeah, I still think I think he's okay enough in there. It's these cycles of like where the game is right now, right? And he just isn't it at the moment. And B for Ultron, Quinn.
B is for B.
B is for B.
I'm really struggling with this one.
I know you are.
B. Oh, of course. Right, I've got it. Ask me again.
And B, Quinn, is for?
Born Yesterday.
I like it. I like it.
I
By
mean,
the way,
it's not something he says, but it fits.
I'm gonna keep all of the other bit.
I mean,
in there
I know
as
you
well.
You're a freak.
So, Quinn, in the 3 threats, we got to end on a high with X-23. In the 2 threats, we got to end on a high with 1. In the 4 threats, we got to end on a high with Wolverine.
Was he the last of the 4s?
I feel like he is. I think W gets it.
I mean, because Yondu wasn't out.
Yondu wasn't out, then...
also, for those wondering, Yondu's solid B. He's fine.
Yeah, I read him drunk and thought he was rubbish, and then reread him and was
You also thought that he had a magic arrow. You started making up things about the character.
I was very drunk, yes. Unfortunately, Quinn, we do not get to end our glorious 5-threat list.
Read this card drunk.
Yeah. Werewolf by Night, a.k.a. Jack Russell.
I mean, clearly we've caught him during the day.
Yeah. 442, 7 stamina on his front, 7 stamina on his back. Size 3, medium move, medium base. So already you're like, why has he only got 2 Mystic? Why? This is going to hurt him, isn't it? Yes, it hurts him. Savage Slash, range 3, strength 6, power equal to damage dealt. Guaranteed bleed. Well, not guaranteed bleed. Bleed if damage was dealt. And then on a wild, before damage is dealt, place his character within 1 of the target. Oh, Quinn. It's another beast syndrome. So it's not guaranteed, and it's not a May.
When are they going to learn?
It's just not good, is it? It's just not good. Lethal Lycanthrope. Range 2, strength 7, cost 3. After this attack is resolved, if the target character is size 3 or less, this character may throw it away short. That's fine. As a spender, that's fine. Throw, a guaranteed throw. Why he can only throw something the same size of him is beyond me. I feel like he could pick up something bigger, but there we go. And then on a wild, after the attack is resolved, the character gains bleed and hex special conditions. It's, like I say, it's fine. Pounce, it does what pouncers do, but obviously he's size 3, so it's 4 damage incoming. Also costs 3 as well. Don't other pouncers normally cost 2?
Yeah, but not for size 3 characters.
Yeah. I mean, it could have done with it. Unearthly Howl, cost 2. Choose an enemy character within 3 of this character, roll 4 dice. The chosen character loses power equal to the number of crit hit wild results. Additionally, for each fail rolled, the chosen character gains 1 of the following conditions: slow or root. You can only be affected by this once per turn. We've already spoke about, Quinn, how losing power is not a big thing.
So unless you're doing mutant absorption.
Yes. Where there is extra bits at the other side of it.
Where there is potential for damage, right?
Yeah. Why would you spend 2 power to probably...
Maybe lose power on the opponent, and maybe, if you're lucky, give them a condition. Ooh.
Yeah. Not great. Midnight Massacre, cost 3, reactive. After attacking it, this character is resolved. It may use a superpower. If the attacker is within 3, this character may make a savage slash attack targeting the character. Can only be used once per turn. It's a clapback. It's probably the best thing on his card, Quinn, to be brutally honest with you.
Why doesn't he have aggressive?
I do not know.
He's a werewolf.
Healing factor 2. Why do AMG hit furries?
Well, that they all ascribe to the position that Scalies are our true overlords.
We do know this. They are as fan of Zuckerberg and Musk. They love the scalies.
No. Scalies are just furries, lizards.
Oh, really? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I think it's a thing.
Oh.
I think there's one for birds as well.
I don't want to.
Aviaries?
Well, aviary is like the term for bird, isn't it? Like,
well, aviary is like a place you keep birds. Avian is the term for birds.
Avian flu. Yeah, there we go. Look, he has a card, Quinn. Okay.
Right.
Phases of the moon. At the start of the activation phase, Werewolf by Night may choose one of the following effects. New moon. This character must spend 1 power before using Midnight Massacre. That's his reactive. While this character is defending, if it is holding or contesting an objective token, it may reroll 1 die in its defense roll for each special condition the attacking character has.
Oh, shit.
Like, okay. And then full moon.
Not okay, Rich. Not okay.
No. I mean, it is shit. Full moon, this character cannot interact with, contest, or hold extract tokens. While this character is attacking, it may... So you may reroll 1 die in its attack roll for each special condition the target has. You get it for the remainder
I will make
of the
this
game.
5-threat character. This character I have invested so much threat in that I could have had 2 lesser threat characters to go and hold objectives with. I'm already down in numbers because I've taken such an expensive model. I'll make them not count for objectives at all. That'll help.
Yeah. This is terrible.
Beyond terrible.
So, I would argue, Quinn, even if you remove the downside to each of these, they're still not good. Like, it doesn't make him...
Reroll a dice.
Yeah.
How inventive.
For each special condition the attacking character has. So, if they have no special conditions...
You get nothing.
Like, so bad. So bad. I'm going to throw it out there, Quinn, and I think this one above a lot is going to annoy people. I think he's D tier.
Yeah, I think he's arguably worse than Jing. Let's be honest. If you were the head of a miniatures game company, and you were sat in your office, and one of your game designers comes into your office, holding a bunch of papers, "Here, boss, we've got a new werewolf character for you," and they gave you that, you'd fire them.
And also, by the way, infinitely worse because exceptional healing went away as well.
Obviously.
He's not Farouk bad. Is he called Farouk? I keep calling him Farouk.
Yeah, his surname's Farouk.
It's Farouk, Amal, isn't it? Yeah, Amal Farouk.
Yeah, onto Farouk's car dealership.
God, he's so bad. There we go, guys. And D Quinn is for?
D is for dog needs putting down.
Dog needs putting down. Who let the dogs out? Nobody.
The dogs died of starvation in their kennel, waiting for good rules.
There we go, Quinn. This is our eventually completed 5-threat list. Let's just run down from bottom to top. D tier, these are characters that we think need pretty much a complete rework. We have got Shadow King in last place, then Werewolf by Night, Jean Grey, and Sentinel Prime Mark IV, I think is his correct name. In C tier, which are characters that have potential but need some help. We've got Ebony Maw, we've got Mephisto, we've got OG Modok, we've got Danvers 2, we've got Klaw, we've got Tank Cassandra Nova, Scarlet Witch, and then the 5-threat version of Thor. B tier, perfectly fine. We've got Juggernaut, Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme, Black Swan with the Power Gem, Corvus Glaive with the Reality Gem, Ultron, Ulik, Abomination, Red Skull, Black Panther, Jane Foster Thor, Black Bolt, Cable, and Doctor Strange. And then in A tier, we've got Angela, Spider-Bob, Namor, and the brand new Nova, who I am just still so excited to get on the table and have a play with. And then in S tier, characters who really need knocking down a peg or two, in some cases 3 or 4. We have got Loki, Prince of Lies, just sneaking in because of his overall contribution to what is something that's bullshit. Ghost Rider because of his deal with the Devil card and that long move. And then Dracula because he just does everything. And even with the changes to his leadership, he's still got a leadership that's not busted, but you can just take anyone you want, meaning that then he just becomes that much better because you take Thanos and boost his attacks. Anything you would change, Quinn, or are you happy with the list as it is?
Can we invent like a new tier for Werewolf by Night and Shadow King? Like,
they're not good,
we
are
have
they?
an I tier for the Incinerator.
But there we go, guys. Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. As always, these are our opinions. If you disagree with us, let us know down in the comments. If you agree with us, let us know down in the comments. We always enjoy reading people's comments, or at least I do. Quinn does read some as well. I've seen him read them. Guys, we are going to leave it there. I want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreons and our YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for the support. It really, really does mean the world and does go a long way to helping us continue the running of the channel. And if you want to support us, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. Simply hit that, go into the description and you'll see a link to Patreon, or hit that join button and you can become a YouTube member. But as always, you don't need to do either of those things. Just simply commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing, sending Quinn a Malteser, all goes a long way to helping the channel succeed. So thank you so much for that.
Right,
Big
and
shout
none
out.
of those rebels that have raisins in them, right?
That's not a Malteser, is it?
No, but they're same company. You can pass
Are they
them off as
Mars?
one.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that is fair. Yeah. Big shout out to Leodis Games, sponsor the channel. If you want to check them out, there'll be a link down in the description below where you get £5 off your first order. Check out the Discord. It's where we do all sorts of things, MCP, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. So go and check that out. And as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.
I'm not getting a sign off this time.
Wow.
That's
Don't
how
even get-
depressed I have become by Shadow King and Werewolf by Night.
That's the sign off.